Welcome, everybody. It's Wrestling Uncensored. Tonight on the show, we're talking the sale of the WWE SmackDown. Everything happening there, and we're watching AEW Rampage Battle of the Belts. It's Wrestling Uncensored. Let's get Johnny in here. Big Johnny North. How are you, buddy?
Well, although I only missed a weekend, it feels like I've been gone for like almost a month. So much has happened. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of nuts, right? I was here over the weekend doing the WrestleMania post-show coverage on the Ringside Report Network with my brother on Saturday and then AJ on Sunday. Thanks to those guys for stepping in to help out, because, Johnny, you had some big wrestling matches, which I do want to talk about your matches. 2 matches, right, last weekend?
Yeah, 2 matches. And one was particularly special because I had a bunch of my friends I used to go to high school with. So that was a nice little reunion we had after the show. Like, for me, honestly, one of the best days I've ever had. Like, it was that great. So WrestleMania was like the furthest thing from my mind, but kudos to you guys for like still keeping going strong both nights. I caught up to WrestleMania finally today, but it took a while.
Wow, really? I'm surprised it took you that long to get through WrestleMania. It was 2 nights of wrestling. I guess if you weren't watching on the weekend, you got things to do during the week.
I watched a bit of the Hall of Fame too. I don't know if you watched a bit of that or not. Or
Yeah, I watched the Hall of Fame. I thought it was all
what do
right.
you think? What do you think of the Ric Flair speech?
I don't know. He made it a little bit about himself, as he does
A little bit,
everything.
yeah. Of course, yeah.
That's really my
That's
only
not surprising.
criticism, and it's not really a criticism because it's the Nature Boy, and you kind of know what to expect there. He didn't put him over that strong.
Well, he didn't really know Muda that well. I don't think. Like, yeah, they wrestled each other, but I don't think they were buds that much. You know, like
Yeah.
he was the booker, really. Like he just kind of told him what to do. Like Sting was the guy, and he even said, like in the first like 10 seconds, like, "Oh, they probably should have got Sting to do this."
Yeah, he
I'm
said,
like,
they called
"Wow."
me, and I said, are you sure you don't want Sting? I was like, all right, he's going there right away. Of course, Sting works for AEW, so I think Flair's just an easier option, even though Sting doesn't have terrible allegations against him, right? So I don't know. But they went with the Nature Boy. I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad. I guess people were not happy with it. I thought Conan's speech was excellent. His was
Yeah, it
my
was
favorite.
definitely. Yeah.
He was the best. Tori
I mean,
Wilson
to
and
be
Stacy
honest,
Keibler were fine. Mick Foley was kind of like, he was like, I don't know why I'm here. And everybody was like, yeah, I'm not really sure why you're here either. But it's good
it
to
was
see Mick Foley.
appearance.
I like Mick Foley,
That's
so
it.
yeah. I don't know. What did you think of Flair's speech?
Well, like you said, it just seemed like he didn't really know much about Muda, and it's just like, well, I'm going to talk about all the people that I do know in Japan and just list them all off, and I'm like, all right, like this seems like not what this is supposed to be, but Flair is always entertaining to listen to, so I didn't mind it, but I could imagine they probably didn't like that whatsoever because that seemed like that's not what they wanted. I don't think.
It's exactly what I expected out of the Nature Boy. I was not surprised whatsoever. I enjoyed it. Like, I had no
No, I
problems.
did too.
I thought the Hall of Fame was fine. Even the little gimmick they did with Dominic and Rhea walking out, I thought was fine. It was understated. You know, it wasn't like this big thing. They didn't brawl. They didn't do anything crazy. They just walked out, and they watched backstage.
Right.
I mean, no big deal. Still there. Still dressed
I
up,
felt
all
it was too
nice.
long. Overall, it's way too long though. Like we had just watched SmackDown, and people had to watch another 3 hours. Like
Yeah.
to be fair, like I skipped a lot of it. Like a lot of it was long.
I like it. I watched all of it. I like the Hall of Fame. It's one of my favorite shows of the year. This one was not one of my favorite Hall of Fames, but they didn't have a great lineup, you know? The people they inducted, like Rey Mysterio is cool, but Rey doesn't feel like part
He's
of
not
the fun.
retired.
Yeah, he's not retired. He's on SmackDown every week, and part of the fun of Hall of Fame is seeing people you haven't seen in a long time.
That's true.
And Rey, we see Rey all the time, so it's like, all right, cool, Rey, and
No
he was
tag team.
but Rey was the feature attraction, you know. No tag team.
Oh, and another thing about the Ric Flair thing, you notice that he talked about the Steiners, and he talked about them so much they then panned to the Steiners.
Yeah,
And after all the controversy with Rick Steiner, I'm doubting that they wanted that whatsoever too. But
I
still
think
happened.
no, I think the controversy with Rick Steiner only came out on Saturday, so Friday night it was not a non-issue.
I thought it was Friday, but okay.
No, I don't think so, because I remember seeing Rick Steiner and being like, "Oh, there's Rick Steiner," and not thinking anything of it. And then the next day, I was like, "Oh man, Rick Steiner was at the Hall of Fame yesterday. That's crazy." Yeah, Rick Steiner said some terrible things apparently to a trans woman who wrestles for Impact. Right?
Yeah, Shaw, Josie or Gisalsi or
Giselle Shaw.
Giselle.
I think it's
Giselle
Giselle,
Shaw,
John.
yeah.
I think that's how that name is pronounced usually. She's a wrestler for Impact, and apparently Rick Steiner, for some reason, A, I don't understand how he knows who she is, and B, I don't understand how he knew she was trans to then go after her and say all these things. It was a strange occurrence that happened, but it seems to have got Rick Steiner blackballed from all of pro wrestling at this point, which, fair enough, right?
Well, and his son now too. Like that's going to get him a bunch of heat just for that. Like they may have made him heel just a lot off that because he was just getting negative reactions beforehand.
I don't know if you get residual heat from dumb stuff your dad says. It's not his fault.
It's not, but unfortunately, some people are like that.
I think a lot of people might think, well, if your dad thinks that, what do you think? And if he doesn't come out strongly opposed to his dad, right?
What? And he's facing a baby face too. Like it was a face versus face kind of match. So, give us a reason to hate something and they'll just latch on to anything.
I don't even know what match you're talking about.
Well, I guess you didn't watch Stand and Deliver. I didn't watch it either, but I knew what was going on at least.
I didn't watch what now?
NXT?
No. They had a show?
Oh. I guess there's 3 hours of wrestling you missed. That's okay.
Yeah.
You watched enough.
I watched enough. Okay? I've done enough.
You're still watching it.
I'm still watching wrestling right now as we speak. I'm watching Father Magic and Cool Hand Angelo walk to the ring because they have some sort of match here on AEW Rampage, which is live, by the way. This is a live episode of AEW Rampage. It's taking place right now in Kingston, Rhode Island. They were in Long Island on Wednesday for Dynamite. This is a live show in Rhode Island, and it's a 2-hour Rampage that they're doing. You think I didn't?
2-hour show.
Well, whatever. You think I didn't get enough pro wrestling here? This is a 2-hour show. After this, they're doing Battle of the Belts. It's Rampage 10 to 11, and then 11 till 12. That's right, 11 till 12, they're doing Battle of the Belts. They better do blood or nudity or something from 11 till 12 to make it worthwhile. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to run a wrestling show that late, do something crazy.
You got your favorite Jade on the show, so, fingers crossed for you, I guess.
I don't know what we're hoping for there.
Violence?
I'm hoping Jade makes somebody bleed. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Jade busts somebody open. Jade crushes somebody's skull. That's what I want to see. I want to see Jade Cargill demolish people.
He should wrestle a kid or something, no?
Jade's wrestling a child? That sounds fun. What do you mean?
Well, like 16, 18-year-old, I think.
They're allowed to wrestle on Rampage?
I think 18-year-olds are, yeah.
We're letting...
They've
18. Okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that's Starks. Somebody Starks. Billy Starks?
Billy Starks,
Is it Billy Starks? Okay, I've seen her on the internet. She's somewhat internet famous, right? She's wrestling Jade Cargill tonight?
Yep.
Oh.
You would know more about her than I haven't seen. I just knew that I saw the name. That was about it.
She's a wrestler, and she's in high school, I think. But she's maybe 18? That's all I know.
Yeah, I think it's something like that, yeah.
I saw Jade Cargill tweet to her. So maybe that's what's going on. I didn't realize they actually had a match tonight. Okay. I get it. So Rampage is happening. It is... I don't even know what's going on. Hook won the opener against Ethan Page in some sort of brawl match.
This is an 8-man tag here, it looks like.
This is an 8-man tag. It's the Acclaimed, right, because the Acclaimed are maybe joining the Jericho Society, but not really. This is a stupid gimmick that AEW is running. And they have Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange trying to recruit them. Hager's there, too, for some reason, in his hat. And then... I don't even know who these other guys are. Honestly, I have no idea who their opponents are. None of them. Not a single guy on this team is recognizable. So they're jobbers, right?
They're all locals, more than likely.
That's not Alex Shelley, is it? Who's that guy?
No,
he kind of looks like a shitty Alex Shelley, doesn't he?
Right.
Like his look.
Yeah, Alex Shelley's in better shape.
He looks like Dollar Store Shelley. So I don't know what this is. Yeah. Some jobber guys are there.
I think this is the end here.
Yeah, well, it should be because who wants to sit through any more of this nonsense? AEW Rampage. Is this the end? These guys just kind of crumpled over each other. What's happening?
Now they're all going to scissor.
Oh, they're scissoring. So are they friends here? The Acclaimed and the Jericho guys?
It looks like it, but they're taking too much time. And
kind of, but not really.
And they just told them to suck it? Man, people do the crotch chop way too much. Like WrestleMania.
Everybody did it at WrestleMania.
People got to stop doing it, man. Like, it's too much.
Rhea Ripley did it. Montez Ford did it like 100 times in his match. What's he doing?
Kevin Owens does it.
Kevin Owens. There's a lot. A lot of crotch chopping. Before we get into the sale of WWE, which is, massive news, obviously, we didn't have you on the WrestleMania post shows. What did you think of Mania overall? You want to give me quick thoughts on, night 1, night 2, what you liked?
I'll try to make this quick. I mean, there's a lot to go through here.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like, when I was wrestling, people were like, oh, night 1, that's like the greatest show I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was amazing, top to top to bottom. Like,
8 on 10.
What an amazing show. Well, that's not bad. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, 8 on 10 I thought was good. Not the best show I ever saw in my life, but 8 on 10, yeah, for sure.
Well, this is the quote I heard, like, the best WrestleMania top to bottom I've ever seen. That's what I was told. So I'm like, high expectations here. I'm like, wow, this is going to be amazing. And to start, whew, that was a bad start. That was a horrific start. Cena versus Theory.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not great.
Not the way to start it. But it got better with the tag match. That was a great match. Liked that match a lot. I didn't mind Titus
the 4-way men's tag you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Back and forth action. It doesn't have to be too complicated, but some great stuff they had. I thought every team showcased themselves pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about the Profits winning, but whatever. That's what they like to do. Put them over. Whatever.
They're the only real tag team in that. Well, no, the Viking Raiders are a real tag team, right? But who else was in that? Braun and Rico and
Alpha Academy.
Oh, they're a real tag team. I don't know. Street Profits. I didn't predict them to win, but
right. They like the Profits a lot. I get it, and we saw later on Raw. We'll talk about later. Like, that's kind of it played into it, but I don't know. I would have gone with the Raiders. I think, and what we saw on SmackDown, I don't know what's wrong with the Raiders. They just don't seem like to push them whatsoever for whatever reason. It's kind of puzzling, but whatever. Then what was it? Was it the 6-woman tag?
Probably. What'd you think of that? Not great.
Like, it wasn't great. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, I thought Trish wasn't that bad. And Lita, like, had some moments where it's like, oof, that looked rough. But then she had some moments where it's like, oh, that's some kind of innovative offense she pulled off. Like, I didn't mind it. But again, like, this was just like, we said this before this even started. Like this is like a powerhouse team, and like it's
Yeah.
kind of too obvious. It's exactly what happened. Like they just
Yeah.
steamrolled through them, and that's the end of Bailey. Apparently, is that? I read that somewhere. Like Bailey's gone. Like
I don't
is that
know.
true?
She wasn't on Raw, and she posted some sort of goodbye type message on Twitter, and some people are
Right.
saying that Bailey wasn't on Raw because she's maybe leaving. But then there's other reports that are saying, well, Bailey wasn't on Raw because they wanted to protect her by not having her come out with her team when they lost. Like they want to keep
Okay.
Bailey looking strong, which doesn't really jive with me. I'm not really sure what's going on with Bailey. But as long as she's
Because the
not on
past times
TV,
didn't matter.
yeah, exactly. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with Bailey, but that's definitely one to watch, right? Like if she's not on Raw
That's a huge
Monday,
loss.
yeah,
They
massive.
lose her. That's gigantic.
Huge.
Like
Huge.
I know that they got some more people coming up, but Bailey is like super established. That's going to take a while to get someone that established again.
She's a future Hall of Famer. She's top level on the microphone and in the ring. She's a bona fide star. And not only is it a huge loss for WWE if they actually do lose her, which is still up in the air at this point, but it hurts them because she's going to do great stuff no matter where she goes, and it's going to help competition like AEW or some other company like AEW or New Japan with Sasha,
Well, you'd think that she'd go with Sasha and
Never
whatever
know.
she's doing, like maybe do a team thing. Like 'cause she said something like she really wanted to have a big match with Sasha at WrestleMania, right? And that never happened. So maybe have that match somewhere else.
Mhm.
Maybe that's the goal.
I mean, she seemed to care a lot about those tag team titles and doing something with them and pushing for them in the division, and they weren't defended at all at WrestleMania. So there's that too. Seth Freakin beat Logan Paul. It was a good match.
I thought it was good, but it really lacked intensity though. Like,
Yeah.
and I get it. Logan Paul, he's not really a wrestler, but it really like showed a lot in this match where it's like, yeah, this is a celebrity versus a wrestler. Like, I know Seth really tried to gave him a lot. Like, to me, almost gave him too much. Like, he gave him a lot over, but it kind of exposed the fact that this isn't really a fight. This is really just a showcase of like, I'm going to do this move, then you're going to do that move. And it didn't really feel like there was any urgency. Like, I want to win this match. It's more of like, I'm going to one up you. And it's no like, I want to hurt you. None of that. And that table spot, like, I don't know what you thought about that table spot. I think you talked about it. I forgot, but like, that looked bad. Like, he clearly saw Seth before he moved, and
Oh
then he
yeah.
jumped anyways. We saw KSI. Like, that looked bad. I didn't like that. And that
Yeah.
wasn't even the finish. What the heck? Like, I gotta hit the GTS as well. Like the FU to CM Punk. You got to kick out of that, and then we're gonna do a bunch of other moves, and then we'll go to the finish. Like, it just felt like it dragged a little bit. Like, there were moments where it was good, but wasn't one of my favorite matches.
What was your favorite match on night one? Charlotte and
Well,
Rhea,
not.
or Kevin and
Oh
Sammy
yeah,
against the Usos?
I really like Charlotte and Rhea, and that might be my favorite match overall of WrestleMania, possibly.
Me too.
It's that or the three-way. Like that match, wow. Like, and again, like that should have been the main event. And I get why it wasn't the main event, but you still got what you probably would have wanted. Like you queued people afterwards, like after Rhea won, and people were celebrating. It was still a feel good moment for everybody,
Yep.
even though the heel won.
Even for Charlotte.
I don't get it. Yeah, even for Charlotte. So like I don't understand that. And if anything, that probably fueled them more to have that kind of match, I think. To
It
kind of
was
prove them like,
incredible.
well, we should be the main event. Yeah.
It was
One of the best
perfect.
matches for WrestleMania. And like for it not to be a main event was kind of insulting, I think.
Yeah. It was one of the greatest wrestling matches you will ever see. It was one of the greatest wrestling matches in WrestleMania history. I'd say possibly in the top 5. That's how good it was.
I mean, you
It
have to
was
go back and look
perfect.
at stuff, but
But
it was
it
up
was
there. Like,
just like it did everything it needed to do. It was a perfect
Oh yeah.
length, perfect everything. It was just a perfect wrestling match.
And it felt
Perfect.
like
It
a
had,
fight.
yeah, it had some moments where you're like, oh my God, is she okay? Like
Yep.
when Charlotte took that German and landed on her face. Like, my goodness.
Yep. Even the finish too. Like she spiked her on that finish. That was a great finish.
Yeah. It was a perfect wrestling match. Perfect.
And like this is no offense to the tag match, but it didn't feel like a main event compared to that women's title match to me, anyways. Like
Mm,
I get it had the great moments and that all that, but like a lot of the stuff they did, they just hit moves. Like it didn't feel like as impactful as the other match was.
I don't know. It had
Like
some
it just hit.
intensity though. They tore the house down. They had a kick-ass match.
Yeah, but to be fair, like it's the main event. There's no way the Usos are gonna win. That to me takes away a lot of that match.
Yep.
Takes away a lot of the suspense. Like at least with Charlotte and Rhea, it's like, well, it's Charlotte. There's always that doubt with Charlotte, at least, you know.
Hmm.
But when you put that in the main event, like, come on, there's no way the Usos are losing that one. Like it takes away a lot of the drama I found for that.
Yeah, the Usos had no chance of winning. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were the biggest betting favorites going into WrestleMania the whole weekend,
Right.
right? So that
Right.
was the obvious slam dunk pick. Kevin Owens and Sami were going to beat the Usos. Yeah, I agree with you, and I talked about it on the post show on night one. I was like, man, Charlotte and Rhea should have been the main event. Rhea won the Royal Rumble. It was a singles title match. As great as Kevin and Sami and the Usos have been, it was the B storyline in the Bloodline. The A storyline is whatever the hell Roman Reigns is doing because he's the A player. So when you put the B storyline in the main event of night one, you're telling us this is WrestleMania the B show. WrestleMania the A show is Sunday. Unnecessary. I didn't like that.
And I don't know if you noticed too, like the Usos, like Jay completely missed the double splash.
Yeah, they often
Like
miss
I
it,
get,
though. It's hard to do.
well, I felt those other moves too, where they were just kind of off in some areas as well. Like, and the super kicks, like it just got way ridiculous after a while. And that for some people they love it, but it's getting too much. And like this idea of like, oh, it's a tag match, and then Kevin just disappears for a while, but then magically shows up at the right time. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yet people love it because of the action, and I get it. There was great action, but for greatest tag match of all time, like I like Kevin and Sammy, but I didn't find it was.
I didn't think it was the greatest tag match of all time. I thought it was a very good match. Excellent
Right.
stuff. If you want to call it your match of the night or your match of the weekend, I won't argue with you. Fine, it's your preference. But I thought Charlotte and Rhea was the best match of the weekend. How about night two? Roman Reigns beats Cody Rhodes. Hey, night two, John. By the
Jumping
way,
ahead.
we were predicting all the matches, right? And night one, we basically predicted all the same outcomes. But night two, we had a lot of differences.
Good.
I think of the differences, I was right on everything, and you were wrong. Right? Is that correct?
Right. That's
What
correct.
the hell?
Yeah.
I killed my
Well,
WrestleMania night two predictions. I don't know. I got lucky. I had Gunther winning, and I think you had Drew. Gunther won,
Yep.
of course. What were the other ones? I mean,
Edge and Finn.
Yeah, I said Edge was going to win, and he did.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I said Roman would beat Cody, and he did. Roman was a betting odds underdog, too. Good match there. Fun match. What'd you think?
Well, can we start from the beginning, or can we start with Brock and Omos first?
Sure, we could talk about Brock and Omos. I mean, we skipped some stuff from night one, too. Like, we didn't talk about Rey and Dominic, but do we need to rehash Rey and Dominic?
Was good. That was I actually really enjoyed that.
It was a good match, actually. It was way better than I expected it to be. I'm not sure if I liked it because I had such low expectations, though. But it was pretty good.
I had low expectations.
Yeah.
I had low expectations. But, I mean, they had that stupid Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and yet it still didn't really hurt the match that much. And I thought there was way too much salad dressing in that match, but it still wasn't bad. It was still good in terms of, like, the action that you saw.
Yeah.
And I wasn't big on the Bad Bunny stuff, too, but I get it, too. It makes sense. So
you got to set up the next one.
Yeah, no, it was good. I liked that match. Like, it was definitely much better than I expected.
Yeah. And I don't want to talk about Pat McAfee and The Miz because, like, who cares?
Well, but it's important where people are telling me like this is the greatest WrestleMania I've ever seen, top to bottom, and I'm like, what? After seeing that, how can you ever say that like with a
Yeah.
straight face? I don't understand you. Like you watch that and the endless amount of video packages, and like I like Xavier Woods, but we don't need to see this like, oh, what's going to happen with Seth Rollins and like Logan Paul. It's a video game simulation. Like we don't need that stuff. So much filler.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe you guys watched that for 4 hours like that. I would have died.
I
It's too
survived.
long.
I
don't know
I
how you
had some
did it.
help. I had some help, but we got it done.
Dude,
Pat McAfee and The Miz was just a joke. What I really didn't like about this was, The Miz is out there with Snoop Dogg, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the toughest," da 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 da. And the guy in that spot that's supposed to save the day for the fans is not
right.
Pat McAfee. He's not the baby face that we all know and love. He's that football guy who shows up once in a while. He's a baby face to certain people, but he's not a universally accepted baby face in professional wrestling. And when he came out, it was like, oh, okay, Pat McAfee's here. Like, he got some cheers, but not a resounding pop because people don't really care about the football announcer guy who hangs out with Michael Cole. He's not over. That's a spot for Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the people that they sent out. No, well, I know, but what the hell, man? Get him. That's a spot for the Nature Boy Ric Flair to go on beat up The Miz. Anybody that's a wrestler that the fans actually like. Not Pat McAfee and not Shane McMahon. Like, the guys that they sent out there to be the saviors were people we don't like. It's like
WWE. Shane got a great pop, though.
They're so tone deaf. Yeah, of course Shane got a great pop because people weren't expecting Shane and people generally like Shane. But come on, man. And you saw how it worked. When I saw Shane, I was like, jeez, they got Shane. This is the WrestleMania surprise. This is the big superstar that's going to show The Miz what's what. Like, when you have a spot to give a heel his comeuppance on WrestleMania 2 nights in a row, and you fill it with Pat McAfee and Shane McMahon, these are your big legend return spots for WrestleMania? Garbage. You got to fill that spot with Undertaker, with goddamn Jerry the King Lawler, with anybody. Psycho Sid. I don't care. Anybody but McAfee or Shane. Somebody that's either over or was over. Ideally, you put Stone Cold Steve Austin in that spot. But if you can't get Stone Cold, get Rikishi. I don't care. Not Pat McAfee or Shane McMahon. I would have been happy with Miz taking a stink face, and I think everybody else would have been as well. Stink face.
I see your view on that. I understand that, but they just didn't have anybody else, sadly, and that's what we got put up with. And in the end, it was a handicap match, I guess, right? Because, see, that's interesting too, where like they're like Shane went down, and then Snoop Dogg just came in, and Triple H is like, "Oh, Snoop Dogg did something that wrestlers wouldn't have done." Number one, like he was told to do that. Like you could tell the referee was telling him, "Do this, do this, do this." Two, it made absolutely no sense that he actually did that. It's basically a handicap match then. 3, him going off the ropes completely exposed that match as garbage.
Yeah.
Because that looked terrible.
Yeah.
So, like, that didn't save it or anything. It just made a bad segment even worse, in my opinion. But people can say that, oh, he saved the segment. Sure. In your minds, it still was bad.
Yeah, I mean, he reacted. He did something instead of doing nothing. Right?
Yeah, the Miz was doing nothing. That's true.
Miz was doing nothing, and Snoop was like, I guess I'll do something here. And he came in and did something. Because the referee, I think, was like, we got to do something. I think the ref was being told in her ear, like, hey, let's keep this party going.
Another thing, throughout the whole nights of both Manias, I'm not just going to blame John Cena for this, but there's way too much talking. Like, you can hear the wrestlers, like, clear as Kevin Owens, clear as day. Like it's not so much of the wrestlers too. They got to fix the mics or something because it's too much. You can't hear the wrestlers that easy. They got to fix that.
Got a
I'm sure
comment
you heard
here.
that too.
Got a comment here from Transam who says Dave is 100% right. I don't know what Transam is talking about specifically, but I just had to read that comment because I agree with
Probably
that comment.
the Rikishi thing you're talking about, like
Oh,
Taker or
okay,
yeah,
yeah. I
probably
am
that.
right. Of
Yeah,
course. Thank you, Transam.
yeah, you're right, but they just didn't have anybody. Like that's the problem.
Yeah. Ryan Katz says Shane tearing his quad is such a McMahon thing to do. I agree. It is. Vince did it. Triple H did it. Next year Stephanie will tear her quad. It'll be a whole McMahon family tradition at WrestleMania. And that's just, what you get for sending 55-year-old Shane McMahon out to the ring when he's not an active wrestler. You get him injured. That's what you get. That's what you deserve.
He looked like he was in good shape though. Like for 55, he looked like he looked all right. But I guess it's been a while since he's been in the ring, and that can happen sadly.
Leor
McMahon curse.
says, sorry, what?
McMahon curse. The tear quad.
Hornswoggle would have been better. Well, Hornswoggle, I think, is technically a McMahon, maybe, so he might tear his quad. So you got to be careful for.
I think it was revealed that he wasn't, but yeah, whatever.
He's still a McMahon in my eyes, and in my mind, he's still one of Vince's kids. He's Hornswoggle McMahon, and he'd tear his quad at WrestleMania. Leor says, agree about Pat McAfee. I have no idea what fans actually enjoy seeing him. Yeah, I don't really.
By the way, like the guy came in. It was George Kittle, I think his name was, like the football player, like
the ass boy, the third ass boy, Billy Gunn's other son.
Yeah, you thought it was, yeah, but he's a bit bigger, I believe, than both of them.
Maybe, but he looks like an ass boy, doesn't he? Just the way he was kind of walking and just his build. Looks like an ass boy.
A little bit, yeah, a little awkward. But he was helping McAfee and right in front of the referee. Mm-hmm. And the referee's like, don't help him. And it's like, what the heck? Like, you can't just do that.
Yeah.
But, again, they kind of, wishy-washy with the rules a lot throughout the whole Mania show, I felt. But, it's Mania, I guess, right? Everything's no DQ in some capacity, I guess.
Very few actual no DQ matches, though, right?
Wow.
Just one?
Did we
watch the Hell in the Cell?
Yeah. Hell in the Cell. I don't know. I feel like the WWE title match, like, don't they always add no DQ? I don't know if they actually did or not, but.
No, they didn't. There was ref bumps.
They didn't? Okay.
Ref bumps,
Okay.
So Brock and Omos, you liked it?
I mean, it was okay for what it was. I mean, did you expect anything more than what it was? I didn't have any higher expectations or any lower. It was exactly what it was supposed to be, and there you go. If anything, I kind of wish we saw a little bit more Germans and at least maybe attempt a belly-to-belly overhead.
Yeah.
But I guess they got to play it safe. Fine,
he didn't do that much. He didn't do that much.
What was it three Germans and F5? That was it? Yeah, I mean, it's okay, but
it was
again,
wasn't
expecting much.
It started really slow. There wasn't much there. Ronda and Shayna getting the win there in the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. I mean, that was
probably the worst match of both nights.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of them tried.
Yeah,
It just a lot of the women tried. It just wasn't gelling. The crowd just didn't care. Nothing was really invested. And the whole thing with Ronda, like you could tell, I guess she's hurt. She can't do anything, and then she just comes in for the finish.
Yeah,
it just kind of felt like a waste of time. Sadly, I mean, I know they tried hard, but it felt like a waste.
Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew was fantastic. Right, great match there, as expected.
That's the match that would compete with Charlotte and Ripley. I think. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch them, but that was the match of night 2 for sure, without question. Like, the only thing I had against that was that I know they love Sheamus doing the beats, beating people up on the ropes, but it's like, okay, you're doing like 27 and like the referee's not even counting. Like, it is a 5 count. Like, it's getting a little ridiculous, but it's a triple threat. It's no DQ, but they're letting that go a lot in a lot of matches, though. And it's like, he can't always do that, but I get it. It's Mania.
Triple
Let
threat.
them have fun with it. You say, it's triple threat.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're letting him go with that way too many times, and it's like, eventually, like, you're gonna lose it because when he just does it regular way, people are gonna be like, oh, we want more.
Mm, I know what you mean. I think
It's a little thing.
my match of the night on night 2, I think, was Roman and Cody. I like that
Really?
one.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
good.
it was
I
good.
have
It
a
was
but.
fun, man. It was like a ride. Like there was a
It
lot of,
was.
especially watching it live, John, because you watched it afterwards. But watching it live and you don't know
Yeah.
who's gonna win, it's like, man, it was an emotional roller coaster. You never knew where it was gonna turn. So many good false finishes there. I thought they killed it. I thought they had a great match, and everybody that's not liking that match is just mad that Cody lost. I thought the match was fantastic, and the finish I thought was fine and made sense. Like in the end, Solo came back and hit the spike on Cody when Heyman made the save. Like that's how Roman wins his matches. And if you
Right.
don't know that, you haven't been paying attention. Like that's just how it is. And it was a crazy ride to get there. And then once we got there, I was like, oh my God. Because it really felt right before Roman backed into the corner there and had Solo hit Cody with the spike, it seemed like Cody was going to win the match. I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
Like, Cody hit the shake, rattle, and roll, boom. Hits a dusty thing, drops down, hits the gold dust thing, and then he grabs for the crossroads, 1 crossroads, 2 crossroads. And I've seen Cody do this before with the 3 crossroads. And then after all that, Dusty, Gold Dust, Cody, you build all that. I was like, man, it's over here. Cody's actually going to win. And then boom, Solo Sikoa. Heyman jumps on the apron, distracts the ref. Solo, boom with the spike. Roman with the spear. 1, 2, 3. I
Yep.
mean, that's a great story right there, and that's a great finish as far as I'm concerned. When you have everybody buying that one guy is about to win, and then boom, you drop the dime and it turns all of a sudden, and Roman Reigns wins. And everybody's like, what the hell just happened? Right? Because everybody's like geared up
Yeah.
for the Cody celebration. Everybody's thinking Cody's going to win. Everybody's geared up. You see the finish coming. You think it's over. And then all of a sudden, quickly, things just shift. Roman has won, and the fans are just like, what the hell? They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. I thought it was great. Great storytelling, beautiful match from Cody and Roman. Really good. It was one of my favorite matches of the weekend. It was my favorite match of night 2. Even though I thought Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew killed it, I think what they did was maybe not as challenging as what Roman and Cody did.
Oh, I could see that. I get that. I mean, it's much more complex, the main event, right? I mean, there's more to
Yeah.
it,
There's way more
of
to it,
course.
and I give them more credit for that. I mean, they worked for twice as long, right?
Right.
Their match was 34, almost 35 minutes. Gunther and Sheamus and Drew wrestled for 16. So they had double the time. They did a lot. They both put their bodies through a lot, and they told a crazy story. And again, like it's complicated to do that type of match. It takes more than I think Gunther,
Right.
Sheamus, and Drew was great, but it was a little more simple, a little easier to do. So,
Yeah. Well, sometimes simple works though,
of
and it's like
course,
if you have the people.
yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving. I don't know. I just give more credit to Roman and Cody because their match was so complex, and it worked. Like it never faltered at
Mhm.
any moment. Like it was perfect every step of the way. I don't think there was any moment where it was like, oh, that kind of was flat or that didn't really work. Everything in that match, from top to bottom, was executed pretty perfectly. Right?
I agree, except for the run-ins though. I felt like that was a little overkill. Like, it's all right with the Usos coming out and then like Kevin and Sammy come out, make the save, but then Kevin and Sammy beat down on Roman, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oof, that would have been that takes away a bit. Like Cody's kind of got to win this on his own kind of thing. It's like, okay, like you got rid of the other odds, but then you put a beat down on Roman. You both hit your finishers with Roman. That kind of takes away, if Cody's going to win on that one, that takes away from his victory. I didn't like that part.
But he didn't.
He didn't, but they kind of made it seem like that. And I'm like, ugh, it hurts. And it's still like you always have that where it's like that could have taken away from Cody's win.
Yeah, but see, the fact that you thought that, maybe Cody's going to win off this makes it a really good false finish.
in a bad way though. Like
I
it's
don't know
like,
about
oh,
that.
that
I don't know. I think if you buy into it and you believe, they've done their job.
like sure that you can believe into stuff like that, but it's more like the fact that you needed help. Like Cody shouldn't need help to beat Roman.
Well,
That's the main problem.
Roman's got so much help. Cody's got to have some backup once in a while. No.
Yeah, it's okay to get rid of the backup, but to beat Roman, he's got to do it on his own.
Yeah,
And that's where I feel I took away a little. Like you didn't need the moment where they both beat him down.
I
You could
think
have
that
at
was
least covered that.
I think that was more to serve the characters of Kevin and Sammy, who've had this long-standing feud with Roman, and that was kind of those guys having their moment, getting their frustrations out on the tribal chief. You know, I think
Yeah,
there was a lot of that there, which that works too because their characters mean something too, right?
they do. To me, though, it's questionable though, because like who's in the main event here?
Yeah,
But I get it. You also want to showcase them, but it's like you had your moment. You're giving Cody his moment here. Like you get your moment by taking out the Usos. Both don't need to take down Roman too at the same time. I just thought it was a little too much.
what'd you think
Little
of
thing.
Roman winning?
I'm not mad about it. I don't mind that. Roman keeping it going. And like if anything, shows to me that I wasn't paying attention completely because I forgot that Roman hasn't beaten CM Punk's record yet.
Oh, really?
Because yeah, it's true. Like because if you think about it, as WWE champion, he has been champion for over 434 days. He's been Universal champion for 900 whatever, right? But he hasn't been WWE champion for over 434 days. And WWE wants to beat that record.
Oh, yeah.
So Roman's got to beat that record first. So my idea of like Cody gets one title, Roman gets another title, that can't work yet until Roman beats that record. So yeah, Roman's got to be champion for a while. Yeah. It's got to keep going.
Also, come on, John. It's WrestleMania. Roman's a WWE guy. He wasn't losing. It just wasn't happening.
Well, to me, it's like, so now what? So like 2028, like he's gonna be champion because that's how long it's gonna take for him to beat the all-time record.
I don't
So
think
how
they'll
long are
go
we going
after
with
the
this?
all-time record. I don't know when Roman drops it. I could see it being SummerSlam.
So we just extended just to beat the Punk record and another record of 1,000 days, and that was it. Maybe a Pedro Morales record. That's about it.
Yeah.
You got this far. Why not take it as far as you can possibly go, right?
Well, I think because 2028 would be ridiculous. It's
It's
so
crazy,
long.
no?
Yeah, no, it's too much. I don't think he would want to do that. Roman, right? I don't know. It seems a bit much.
He
But
said he's only in the third inning. Did you hear him afterwards? I think that's what he said the
yes,
press
he did
conference.
say
No?
that, which is interesting. Like the
Yeah.
bloodline story is only in the third inning. Like, what does that mean? How far does this go? And if that's true, does Cody ever become champion?
Oh, I have my doubts. I don't know. I don't think so. Especially
Vince
after
is the
Raw,
best.
like
Vince is the
Raw
best.
destroyed him.
He's like, hey, Cody, or you started AEW. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, come here. We'll sign you and give you a nice contract. And yeah, we'll put you in a main event of WrestleMania. Okay. Who's going over? Yeah, we'll talk about it, pal. And then, boom. Look what happens. Vince buys one of the EVPs to bring him over to lose to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's some smart shit right there. That's some WWE old school booking, brother. You get a guy, sign him to beat him. Sign him to beat him. And I think that's maybe what they've done. Dusty never won the WWE title. Cody won't either. It's great. It's
I
crazy.
just don't understand the Raw after Mania though. It was bad. Like it's one thing to beat the guy in the main event of WrestleMania, but like the night after, you got to give him something. But no, you just left him laying again the next night, and he doesn't appear on SmackDown. It's like, wow, like totally destroyed Cody. in just 2 days. It's kind of sad.
Got to rebuild him. Got the
Well,
sympathy
it's going to
now.
take a lot.
I think if they would have made Cody champion, it would have backfired on them anyways. Because they were giving him too much. He had no sympathy. There was already some resentment growing with some fans. I'm sure Seth Rollins fans were a little bit upset with Cody because Seth seemed to be saying, and Becky, his wife, seemed to be saying that Seth should have been getting the spot in the main event of WrestleMania, not Cody. And I don't know how much of that is story or how much of that is real, but I think some of it is real. It's the real Seth Rollins saying these things, the real Kobe Lopez saying these things. And I think a lot of fans would have possibly turned on Cody had they made him champion because it's just, you're really going to give everything to this guy? But now he can, he can lose to Roman. He can come back. He can beat Brock. He can go on another run. But you've given Cody some sympathy because he didn't win the big one against Roman at Mania. I think you can rebuild Cody. People are like, oh, Cody's dead. He'll never be as hot as he was and da-da-da. Well, if that's true, then he was never that good to begin with. If you can't make him as big as he was or bigger, then what is he? So, I don't know. I don't think, when you come to the WWE from another company as a top star, there's certain matches you want to check off your bucket list, right? Roman Reigns is one of them. Seth Rollins is another one. Brock Lesnar is another one. Most wrestlers that wrestle in the WWE, those are the guys they want to wrestle. So people seeing this as a burial of Cody Rhodes, I think need to recognize that wrestling Brock Lesnar is an honor. Brock is like 45 years old. Might be older than that. He doesn't have that many matches left. We don't know how long we have Brock Lesnar for. I mean, he could wrestle for another 5 years. That doesn't mean he's wrestling a ton of matches because we know how Brock likes to work infrequently. So the fact that Cody is going to get this honor of wrestling the Beast Brock Lesnar, I'm sure he's fine with it. I don't think Cody Rhodes sees this as a burial. Maybe he would like to be champion, but if they're going to give him Brock, I'm sure he's pretty happy to get to wrestle Brock Lesnar. I don't know, John. If you just got signed to WWE and they said you're going to work a program with Seth and you're going to beat him, then you're going to work Roman at Mania and you're going to lose to him, and then you're going to work a program with Brock Lesnar and beat Brock or lose to him, would you be mad?
Well, different mindsets,
Yeah, but still,
Cody,
I mean, come on, man. He's getting to wrestle the top of WWE. And he might even beat Brock. So, Cody Rhodes fans are really upset this week, but I think they need to pump the brakes a little bit because it's really not that bad. And yeah, Brock Lesnar beat him up on Raw, but that's what he's supposed to do. By the way, Cody Rhodes fans, you see Cody selling after the show went off the air? That's your guy? How's that working? Like, come on, man. Cody Rhodes was overselling that Brock Lesnar beatdown. I don't know if you saw some of the footage, John. It looked terrible. It looked awful. I was like, Cody, what are you doing, man? He's a great wrestler. I don't know. It was weird.
I didn't see the extra stuff. I only saw the Brock, the middle fingers, and that's the show went off the air.
I'll send you a link. It's like, I think WWE maybe put it out, but Cody's just kind of like stumbling around after he like turns and looks at the crowd and then like falls over. It's like over dramatic, weird. It's very strange selling.
There's reasons why it's off the air stuff. It's like, well, maybe this will hit, maybe this won't hit.
It did.
We didn't write this.
It did not hit. But
I'm
Brock
just saying
yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I'm just saying the visual of him down after Mania, down Raw after Mania. It's hard for people to get invested in him again if he's left laying both nights, two of the biggest nights of the year. He's down on his back to end the show. It's hard to get behind that afterwards. You really got to put a lot to build him up again.
Whatever happened to a sympathetic babyface who has to fight from underneath? This is pro wrestling. This is exactly what you're supposed to do. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm really baffled. I really don't get it, John. You know, he gets beat down. He lost a big match. He got beat down by Brock Lesnar. How is that the end of the world? I don't get that. I think he's like, if he beats Brock Lesnar, you don't think he gains back some of that credibility? You know, I mean, he's a match away from being right back in the mix. Him, Roman, and Seth could have a triple threat at the pay-per-view after Backlash, whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all fine. This is still going.
It's a lot of maybes, though, too. I mean, when will this Cody and Brock match happen?
Backlash.
Is it going to happen at Backlash? Is it?
Why not?
I mean, we say that, why not? But, I mean, will it happen is the question. Because Brock likes to take these vacations, right? So this match might not happen right away. Roman's not going to be there. So, and Rey Mysterio is probably going to main event the show, too.
Yeah, Ray and you think?
Ray and Bad Bunny? Yeah. I mean, that's the main event, no? Against Judgment Day? That makes the most sense. I think it's the main event.
I mean, it's the only match they have right now, but is that really a main event?
Is that actually official? Yeah, I just threw it out there as more than likely it's what's going to happen. I didn't realize it was official. But.
Ray and I think it's going to be Ray and Bunny against Dominic and Damian Priest. No?
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think Finn can wrestle. I think he's still there. That's amazing, but
yeah,
I don't think he's going to actually wrestle.
Hell in a Cell was pretty good.
Yes and no. I mean, the blood actually killed it, which is too bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you felt watching it. It's like, well, I killed a lot of momentum right there. And, like, it's good that they're trying here, but it was hard to get that energy back. To me, that's the way when I watched it.
Yeah.
I felt like that really, like, toned it down, sadly. And I don't understand, why did we have to have color-coded chairs? And, the cage is fine, but all the weapons are color-coded for whatever reason. I didn't understand that. And, like, I appreciate Edge coming out to Seasons in the Abyss by Slayer, but why? Like, Brood Edge didn't come out to Slayer before. Like, I mean, it's cool that Edge makes himself look awesome, but it wasn't necessary. But good for him.
I didn't know what the song was. I don't know about that.
Well, he just, made himself look cooler, but it's like that wasn't part of Edge's history. They talk about, oh, this is a Brood Edge, and it's like, he never did this before. Didn't have the helmet or anything like that, and the look or whatsoever. But
I don't know. Okay. It was a special look for Mania, was what it was. Chris Dopsy says, I completely agree that people are up in arms about the Cody Roman situation. The rematch will be bigger and make more money. Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel.
If the rematch happens, I question if the rematch is going to happen.
I think it will. You got to do the rematch. Are you kidding? They're for sure going to do the rematch. For sure. Shout out to Tony Mack. I know he's excited. Big AEW show going to London, where he lives out in London. Shout out to Tony staying up late watching us on a Friday night. Saturday morning for Tony out in England. One of the members of the team over at join.ringsidereport.net, Tony Mack, Leor. See you guys in the chat. Join.ringsidereport.net. Tony Mack's been a member for 14 straight months now. Do not forget to join, become a member over at join.ringsidereport.net. $5 a month supports the Ringside Report Network a great deal. We got a lot of shows for you on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, Facebook. Did I say all of them? YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble.
There's also the podcast, too. You want to listen to us just in podcast.
That's correct. Also podcast. All right. Cody, it happened. He's going to wrestle Brock at some point. I like the beatdown. I thought the beatdown was great. People hated
the lead-up was nice.
People hated
I was okay with it.
The what?
No? the lead up to it was like the way Raw started. It's like, oh, we're getting a tag match. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is all right. Like, I like this. Something's gonna happen. We got nothing in the end, and I get why people are pissed. But the lead up to it was okay until we got nothing.
Well, we got several suplexes and several F5s on Cody Rhodes. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I
You
would
didn't
have
like
liked the
seeing,
match, or
yeah, but I like seeing Brock Lesnar throw people around. Entertaining. We didn't get the match though. I was a little disappointed. It was a bit of a letdown because, we were promised Brock and Cody versus Roman and Solo, which would have been awesome.
the biggest Raw main event of all time. They said they
Yeah,
really got to stop with this all time garbage. Like,
sure.
they ruin it every time they say it.
But it would have been massive and it would have been great and it would have been fun. And we just didn't get it. And I think that's the disappointing part. It's that, not that Brock attacked Cody or not that the beatdown was bad. It's that what they had promised us didn't happen. And what they had promised us was really cool and we wanted to see it. And they should have known that.
And we didn't really get anything else during the show.
No.
If you think about it in terms of match, I think there was one. Who did Chad Gable wrestle? I thought maybe his match was okay if he wrestled. Can't remember if he wrestled or not.
If he wrestled, his match was okay. I don't think he wrestled.
So I'm thinking from WrestleMania then. So that's it. Like, there was nothing great then.
Austin Theory beat Rey Mysterio on Raw. Damian Priest chokeslammed Bad Bunny through the announce table after the match, which was kind of cool.
Well, that wasn't a bad segment. It wasn't a match, though.
No. Omos squashed Elias for some reason. Triple H in-ring promo. Triple H cut a couple promos this week, which we can talk about. Triple H started the show. Wrestling-wise, though, on Raw, we really didn't have much. Kevin and Sammy over the Street Profits for no reason in particular. Street Profits won the four-way, so I guess they got a match here. But it's just weird booking Kevin and Sammy off this big match with the Usos, and Kevin and Sammy are these big baby faces, and the first match they have off Mania as a tag team is against another babyface tag team. Like, it doesn't help
they won
Kevin
the
and Sammy
tag.
that much.
Like, they won the four-way tag, so it made sense that they would get the shot, right?
Yeah.
But that's why it should have been the Viking Raiders. Right?
Yeah. Give me
But
a
they
heel
didn't,
tag team against these guys because that's what they needed. They needed opposition where the fans could be 100% behind Kevin and Sammy and, not a 50-50 crowd or, really an 80-20 crowd. But still, Street Profits had some fans, right?
Like, I don't know about you, this was one of the worst Street Profit matches I've seen. Like, I don't know what it was, but they just seemed off this whole match. I don't know if it was nerves or they were tired or something, but like, their stuff just wasn't clicking. Like, it just felt out of moves. It just seemed out of place. They seemed out of place for stuff, and like the finish too. Like, that whole like Montez is just standing there after the stunner and just standing there.
Yeah.
And then Sammy has to run and go push him. Like, what the heck was that?
I didn't like that. It was cartoony. Yeah. I didn't like that finish. It's possible that they had very little time to plan the match because apparently Raw got changed like 3 times during the show. They kept rewriting the script. I don't know. People are blaming Vince McMahon. Apparently Vince was backstage at Raw, but it's WrestleMania weekend. He's backstage. He's going to be around. The word is, according to, I think, Fightful reported that Vince was not backstage at SmackDown tonight. I don't think Vince is fully in charge of creative in the WWE. I think Triple H is still mostly running the show, but I think Vince is slowly but surely creeping back in, and he's got input. He's gonna have a say.
Vaguely didn't Liv? Yeah, this definitely happened. Liv and Raquel wrestled Damage Control. It was number one contenders match, right?
And they beat them. Yes.
That wasn't much of anything, sadly, in terms of the match.
Bobby Lashley squashed Mustafa Ali as well in a match.
Oh yeah, that happened. That's true.
and that was it. That was all the wrestling matches we saw. Liv Morgan and Raquel against Dakota Kai and Io Sky actually wound up being the main event of the Raw after WrestleMania because it was the last actual wrestling match they aired. They had a Miz promo afterwards. with Matt
Oof.
Riddle coming out, which, like, who cares? Whatever, he's back. Who cares? And then you had the Brock Lesnar Cody Rhodes segment, which really was the last segment, but the actual main event match was that women's tag match, which wasn't much of anything. And then you had Bobby and Mustafa. You had that Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley promo where they kind of teased a match for them in the future, maybe WrestleMania next year, I'm guessing. I don't think they're like, one day we'll cross paths and we'll wrestle. Like, they both seem quite determined to wrestle each other, but neither one gets it in their mind to be like, why don't we have a match? Wrestlers seem to make matches for each other and themselves constantly on these programs. You have two women here that seem to want to wrestle each other and find out who the better one is, but they don't. Nobody makes a challenge. They're like, one day we will cross paths, and when we do, it will be something. It's like, why don't you just make a challenge? There's Backlash coming up. Neither of you have a match. Raw next week, SmackDown. It's a lot of TV time to fill. What are you waiting for, Bianca? Go for it. I like Ric Flair calls her Bionica. Bionica. Ric Flair can't say Bianca Belair. I listened to Ric Flair's podcast, and he was talking about Belair. He's like, Bionica. Banakana. He can't say it. Bianca. It's not that hard. Banaka. Bionica. He calls her Bionica.
It's kind of funny, to be honest.
I kind of like it. I like Bionica. She's like Bionica.
Yeah, it does sound like that. We didn't talk about that match actually from Mania, and I thought it was too bad for that match. Like, they put that match on way too late in the show. Like, that should have been night one when you think about it. Like, they need to put their matches more in terms of, like, they realize what's over. Like, that match was a good wrestling match, but in terms of what everyone had seen, no one was really that invested into it because it wasn't a great story. So they could have great, sequences, good maneuvers, but no one's going to care because the story wasn't that compelling. So that match should have been earlier night one. And I get it, you're going to have two women matches, title matches on the same night, but like, that would have helped that match so much. If that was like the first or second match of night one, people would have cared so much more than what they did night two, like middle of the card, I thought.
Yeah. I didn't love it.
I didn't love it, but I didn't think it was a bad match though.
Mm-hmm. But the Raw after Mania was flat. The big return was Matt Riddle. The big spot was Bat Bunny going through a table and Brock Lesnar beating up Cody Rhodes. Other than that, not much of anything.
I don't know about you. Like, people are saying it was the worst Raw ever. Like, I don't think it was the worst Raw ever. It wasn't very good. I'll admit it. Yeah. But I feel like I've watched worse Raws.
Worst Raws after Mania, for sure. For sure.
Maybe, yeah, sure. After Mania, sure. But worst Raw of all time, there's definitely been worse Raws.
No. Like, I'm saying I think I've seen worse Raws after Mania. Like, I don't even think this was the worst ever Raw after Mania. I think this was just, not a good Raw after Mania, but it wasn't the worst. Go back in history and look at I've seen so many episodes of Raw, man, and I've seen some episodes after WrestleManias where WrestleMania was garbage and Raw afterwards was garbage, and it was just all garbage. This was, at least there were some redeeming moments. Brock Lesnar was on and he did some things. That's about it, really. I mean, there wasn't much redeeming about this show, but it wasn't the worst show I've ever seen. I was entertained throughout, some portions of it.
Like, I could watch the show start to finish without having to be like, I have to take a break because this hurts watching this too much.
Yeah.
There's many episodes of Raw where I had to stop because it's just like, this hurts watching this. But that Raw I could get through.
It wasn't very good, but I didn't hate it. People had a real reaction to this. I think mostly because they're mad at Vince, that Vince is possibly around, and I think they're blaming Vince, that Vince is in charge of all of this, and you got to blame Vince, and da-da-da, and it's like, all right. But again, like, Vince was in charge of so much of the things that people like in pro wrestling, and I didn't hear them complaining then. And everybody loved this whole bloodline storyline, and now they hate it because Cody lost. You know, it's like you can't love a thing and think it's genius, and then when your favorite guy loses, when there's one twist in the story you don't like, you're like, well, this whole story's garbage. Well, you used to like the story. I don't know what happened here. And it's not the end of the story either. Because you don't finish the story in the WWE, as Triple H has told us. The story always continues. And the story is getting a little bit more. That. What? People didn't like that?
People didn't like that.
Well, it's the truth.
I didn't like that.
What do you mean?
It's taking a shot at Cody. It's like, oh, like your catchphrase is terrible. Like, that's not the way it works here. We're doing it our way. This is Triple H. Exactly. There you go.
So what?
So it just kind of putting him down, even though like he's supposed to be the central character. Like,
I don't think he's putting him down.
Too, he comes out, he hugs Roman, like,
yeah,
he's his guy, pretty much. Like,
yeah,
that was interesting.
Yeah, Triple H came out and opened up Monday Night Raw to kind of reassure us that everything's okay. Talked about WrestleMania and how great WrestleMania is and how WWE's dominating the news. And they're not going anywhere, and they're the same then, now, and forever, together. And then he says, help me acknowledge one more person, 946 days, undisputed WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. And then Triple H came and hugged Roman on the stage and shook hands with Heyman and Solo and everything. Interesting Triple H move. And, of course, Triple H is talking about the sale of the WWE. Finally sold. We've been talking about it for feels like years now. They pulled the trigger. They made a deal. And what a sweet deal Vince made for himself. Sold the company for like $9 billion, right?
Wow. Incredible.
Something like that. That's the word.
Yeah.
In that range, right? And Vince stays on as executive chairman of this new company that they have started, that they are merging the UFC and the WWE into one company that they value at $21 billion, and they're going to take this company public. Vince McMahon is the executive chairman of this company, which puts him mostly in charge of WWE still, but also kind of in charge of the UFC in a way, because he's kind of higher on the pecking order
than
Dana
executive.
White. Yeah.
Sure, but I don't think he's going to actually do anything.
Well, I don't know about that. Because when these companies consolidate, when they merge, they usually cut a lot of stuff that they don't need that's redundant. And I think the WWE, I talked about this a little bit last night, John. I don't know if you watched the Ringside Report, the MMA show, because we talked about how it's going to affect the UFC. And I think it's going to affect the UFC far more negatively than it's going to affect the WWE, because I think a lot of the production people that work for the UFC, a lot of people that work in merchandise for the UFC, a lot of people that work in UFC where the WWE, they have a department already. Live event production, TV production, touring, all that stuff. Like, who has the more established departments? You would think it's the WWE. They're a bigger company. They have more money behind them. They've been around longer. They've been to more places. They have a bigger, wider fan base around the world. I think the WWE is going to wind up absorbing a lot of UFC stuff, which might put Vince in an interesting position when it comes to the overall UFC product. He might not have a say where he tells people what to do and they have to listen. But, I mean, if he's the executive chairman of this company and Dana White's the president of the UFC under him, I mean, you tell me how that works. I'm not sure. But I can bet he's going to have input. Like, if he's got a comment, people are going to listen, you know? Which is interesting. He got a sweet deal. He cashed in with the sale of WWE. He's staying on as an executive. He keeps his intellectual property, which means every time you want to use Vince, you got to pay Vince, which none of the wrestlers have ever got. Vince got a tremendous deal for himself. Tremendous deal for himself
Great.
and the WWE. Huge deal. I don't see this as a negative, other than they're keeping Vince on, but you have to keep Vince on at this point. It's a publicly traded company that you're going to go and put on the stock market. It's not even on the stock market yet. You're hoping to make it a publicly traded company. You want to keep as many of the main players in place to show that your company is legit and your company has all the real people there and it's not, some rinky-dink operation. And Vince McMahon, love him or hate him, and, current issues aside, he's the guy that people associate with WWE. And even though he has done some horribly, horribly inappropriate things in his personal life, people look at him as the guy that knows the WWE business more than anyone else. So when you want somebody to run that business and you want to have faith in somebody to run that business, you're going to look at Vince McMahon because, he's got the track record. He's got the experience. And people are really mad and people don't get this, and that's fine. But it's just, how these big businesses operate. They want to keep these bigger heads in charge as long as possible because it maintains the appearance of value to the company. So Vince leads to value, whether you like him or not. He makes the WWE more valuable. He knows how to run the business. They're keeping him around for now. But he's like 77 years old, so, who knows, right? Who knows how long he's going to last. He's got a 2-year contract now with WWE, and we'll see. But overall, good deal for Vince. I think good deal for WWE. Good deal for the fans. Of all the giant companies that WWE could have been absorbed by, would you rather the sister company to the WWE be, Disney with Mickey Mouse and all that kind of flowery nonsense, or the UFC with some goddamn violence in a cage? Do you want the owners of the UFC to be the Saudi government with all their nonsense? Or, Endeavor, American businessmen? By the way, Jewish as well. Ari Emanuel. WWE is now Jewish-owned for the first time ever. So MJF, baby.
There's like TV shows about him, no?
Yeah. Well, he is the inspiration for the Ari Gold character in Entourage. Ari Emanuel.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. That's who he is. Yeah, see, I've been following the UFC forever, and we covered the UFC, of course, so I'm very well acquainted with Ari Emanuel and Endeavor. Welcome to the Ari Emanuel Endeavor family, John. I've been here for a while, since the UFC got bought by them years ago. But putting those two companies together, to me, is, perfect. It makes perfect sense. We've been doing that on the Ringside Report Network for years. It's what we do. It's how I live. UFC and WWE. What do I watch? UFC, WWE, AEW, Bellator, PFL, MMA and pro wrestling together. Who would have thunk it? I thunked it. I thunked it many years ago. I brought it to fruition, and look what we have now. The two biggest pro wrestling and mixed martial arts companies in the world under one umbrella. And you could bet there's going to be some crossover on both sides, and it's going to be cool as hell. Everybody loves to watch pro wrestlers fight for real. Everybody tunes in for that shit. Everybody likes to see UFC fighters in the WWE. Everybody wants to know what they're going to do and how they're going to act. It's fun. Crossover appeal. Let's go. I think this is an amazing deal. I am not going to be negative about this deal whatsoever because I think it's great. I think it works out for everybody. I have zero problems with it. I think it's fantastic. As a pro wrestling fan, I love it. WWE's not going to change. They're going to keep the product authentic to what it is. I've seen what Endeavor has done to the UFC. There's been some changes. It's been a little bit different, but pretty much it's the UFC. Hasn't changed that much. So I'm confident that the WWE is going to be the same. It's fine. It's all fine, John. Don't worry.
Well, but didn't Dana say that there's going to be no crossover?
That's what he's saying.
right? Like, he doesn't have a say in anything now, or like, I mean, he's only the president. Like,
Yep.
okay,
Come on, man.
well,
If it makes sense business wise, it's gonna happen. There's gonna be no crossover. There's gonna be crossover.
well, I think he means in the sense that we're not going to see like, well, maybe Brock fighting, fine, but like, I don't think we're going to see like, Roman Reigns fighting in the octagon anytime soon. That's not going to happen.
Probably not, because I don't think Roman Reigns would want to do it, and I don't think the UFC would want to pay him to do it. I don't think we're going to see a bunch of WWE wrestlers all of a sudden go and fight. I don't think we're going to have a UFC versus WWE pay-per-view. I don't think we're going to have MMA fights at a wrestling show. I don't think we're going to have any of that. I think WWE and UFC will stay true to who they are and what they are. But if a guy like Brock Lesnar wants to do both, I think it's going to be a lot easier for him. If a guy like Derek Lewis wants to stop fighting in the UFC or maybe slow down and try pro wrestling, I think it's going to be a lot easier for him. I think there's going to be avenues for some of these people in both companies to go over to the other side, and it's going to be way easier because there's that association. That's what I'm saying about crossover. So, I mean, that's crossover. Dana is not.
To that extent.
I mean, Dana's not right about that. I mean, this is the guy who signed CM Punk and let him fight. He got Brock Lesnar in there. Ronda Rousey's in the WWE now. Like, he recognizes there's a crossover. There's always going to be a crossover. And now that the two companies are owned by the same people, makes it way easier. Contract-wise, business-wise, like, it just makes sense for both companies. It makes it way easier. So I think that's great. I've had time to kind of process and think about the Endeavor sale and the purchase there at WWE. I can't find anything wrong with it. Other than, Vince and Dana are still in charge and they have serious problems with women. But, other than that, what are you going to do?
Well,
I mean, like, I get why Vince and Dana are still in their positions, and I get why they're still there. I get it. Given what they've done, it's kind of like, damn, man. It's not cool, but
you hear what Vince said, right?
Well, yeah, Vince is like, oh, I've owned up to all my mistakes and da-da-da. It's like, no, you paid off all your mistakes, dude. You didn't own up to shit. Yeah. I mean, it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant to have those guys around knowing, how they act in their personal lives. It's unpleasant just looking at Vince's face, really. With that mustache and that dyed hair, he looks freakish. Looks like a monster. I don't like looking at Vince anyway. I see Vince, I'm like, oh my God, look away. Avert your eyes, children. Don't look Mr. McMahon directly in the mustache.
I know you said Gomez from Adam's Family. I find Wayne Newton as well, but
okay.
I think there's a lot of different comparisons you can find.
He looks like shit.
He looks different. He
looks like dog shit. He looks like dog shit chewed up and puked out. He looks terrible. What are you talking about? Look at that guy's face. What's going on with that mustache? It is the worst mustache I've ever seen in my life. And just the dyed hair to boot. And I don't know what he's doing to his face. He looks like he's injecting something. I don't know, man. Vince looked better 5 years ago. I don't know what happened to this guy. I don't know. Vince looked better gray. He really did. He looked better at WrestleMania last year when he was gray and just kind of regular looking. This mustache and the dyed hair, it's just like, what is that? Get that away from me.
We talk about that?
Put a blue dot on his head.
But maybe he's got a new girlfriend or something, or mistress, whatever. Like,
yeah, that's right, pal. I got a new girlfriend, and she likes the mustache. She said Vince grow a mustache, so I did. And now I have a mustache. That's all I got. I don't know. I don't like it. Okay? I don't like it. He looks weird. He's weird. 2 more years, and I think they get rid of him. So.
Yeah, but then they have to pay him, though, don't they? Like,
No, 2 years, and then his contract is up.
oh, his contract's up in 2 years. Okay,
Yeah,
but to get rid of him,
they have to
actually get
pay
rid
him.
of him, they'd have to. Yeah,
Yeah, well, they're not going to get rid of him. I mean, if they haven't found reason to get rid of him at this point, they're not going to find reason going forward, right?
that's a good point. Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on. There's so many allegations. There's so many people he paid off at this point. If they're not going to fire him for that, it's like they're not going to fire him for anything. They're keeping him around. They like Vince. They want Vince there. But I don't think it's him being the executive chairman of this company and being all around the WWE and everything necessarily means that he's going to take over creative and everything. I think Triple H is still in charge.
Well, it's like, Vince is the head, and Triple H is kind of like the guy acting out the commands. That's pretty much what's going down, it seems. Triple H is the guy who's actually at the shows, and Vince is the guy, overseeing everything, but from afar.
I think he's got a say, but I still think that right now the overall creative and the final say is going to Triple H. The way it looks, it seems like roughly the same show. SmackDown tonight was roughly the same as it's been, right?
I don't think there's a huge change between what Vince or Triple H thinks. Just maybe some people that get along with Triple H better than Vince. But I think their way of thinking is almost identical. Maybe Triple H has a couple of guys that he likes, but in terms of how they look at wrestling, I don't think it's that far apart. Like, I think it's just some people like Triple H more, just interacting with him more than Vince, because Vince is a bit harder to interact with.
Yeah, but I mean, you saw, like, just for example, you saw Bronson Reed do a little
that was weird.
with Bobby Lashley, right? He had like a little thing saying, "Oh, you're my uncle, and you're gonna teach me things and whatever." Like, it was weird. It wasn't a good promo, but you could tell that Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley might be starting something, right?
Yeah, something.
Vince fired that guy. Triple H brought him back. Right?
Yep.
If Vince is in charge of Raw, Bronson Reed doesn't get TV time. He doesn't get
I guess,
a program with Bobby Lashley. You know? I don't think Vince would have made that move. So if Vince is really in charge, like, maybe, the big things, big picture, whatever, but he's not fully in charge, and the Triple H guys are still going to have time to shine. That's how I see it. That's my view. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see going forward. Tonight on SmackDown, the Brawling Brutes beat Imperium, a brogue kick from Sheamus on one of the Imperium dudes, and that was the opener.
It's all right. Solid open, I thought.
Yeah. It was decent. The main story, though, was Jey Uso. Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa are backstage. Jey Uso shows up and wants to know where Jimmy is. Heyman says Jimmy's not there tonight. Jey Uso has to handle the Sami Zayn problem, or Solo will take care of it for him. And Solo looks like he's kind of mean-mugging his brother Jay there. I don't know what's going on with Solo. Sammy and Kevin are backstage later on in the show, and they're happy. They're tag team champions, and Kevin Owens tells Sammy that his match with Jay tonight is a huge opportunity to take out the Bloodline, which is what their whole plan is. And then Sammy says, I don't really feel good about this. I want to talk to Jey Uso, because Sammy still has some sort of love for Jey Uso. Kevin Owens doesn't think it's a good idea. He's like, I don't know. I think it's a bad idea. They might beat you up. And Sammy's like, no, I got to do it. And Kevin's like, oh, so you're just not going to listen to me and go and do it. Okay. So still kind of, they're friends, but there's friction there with Sammy and Kevin. Every week, especially on SmackDown, there seems to be more friction. Have you noticed that? When they're booked on Raw, they're like happy-go-lucky, good tag team partners. Last week on SmackDown, they had that weird promo where Kevin's like, oh, you want the pop, eh? Yeah, okay, cool. No, I get it. It's fine. And then this week on SmackDown, they have a little bit of, What's that about? On Raw, they're a good tag team and they're best friends. On SmackDown, I think because maybe the shows have different writers, they're written a little bit differently. Right?
Well, again, too, you go back to Raw, like, I think it was more on time, too. where it felt like
Yeah,
maybe they were a little bit rushed in what they were saying. Where SmackDown, it felt like, well, they had a bit of a story, like they were kind of telling it over time. So I feel like with SmackDown, it's more they have an idea start to finish. Where Raw, it's like, well, we're just trying to get through this. So I think that's why they're able to tell their. I think they want to do this more often. It's just on Raw they don't get the chance to.
I guess. Shout out to Harold Schneider, by the way, member of the team with the $11 super chat, #1 fan. Yes, indeed, you are, Harold. Thank you for that. Appreciate you.
Nice.
Thank you, Harold. Super chat leader of the night. Good man. Supporting the team as a member and with the super chats. And then the main event here tonight was Sammy and Jay. Sammy talks to Jay. He finally found him before the match and told him, there's a way out for you, man. You can get out of the bloodline. Roman's mean to you. I told you we were going to beat you for the tag team titles, and the bloodline's turning on you, and Roman's turning on you, and your brother's not here. I'm telling you, it's not going well. And then there's a commotion in the hallway. Jey Uso says nothing. He just kind of looks at Sammy. Then there's a commotion, and Kevin Owens is laid out under some sort of big road case that Sammy lifts off of him. Solo Sikoa has attacked Kevin Owens. Solo's kind of standing with guys separating him away from Kevin. And Jey Uso just kind of looms over the situation. So Kevin Owens got beat down before this match and possibly injured with that road case on his leg. And then we go to the match. It's Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn right afterwards. Sammy did a huge suplex thing. What was that? The exploder suplex off the top rope? That was nuts. My God. Yep. What a maneuver. And he took a super kick really well, too. Sammy jumped off the top and took a super kick from Jey Uso and just crumpled. It was a hell of a bump on it. Just a great way to sell it. Really nice. It was a good match.
It was good moments. I thought the finish, though, again, some things looked a little rough. Like, you notice when Sammy went for the Luva kick, like, Jay was gone way before he went for the kick. Yet he still went for the kick anyways. I don't know if you caught that or not.
Nah, camera angles sometimes don't help them, right?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that
I know what you mean, though.
Like,
yeah.
Like,
I thought the finish was all right.
Well, I don't know. Like, to me, it just felt like they ran out of time. Like, I think he wanted the sunset flip powerbomb, but like, no, we don't have enough time, so just cut that out and then go on the apron and then spike, and that was it. It's like, it just felt flat the way it ended. Like, it was a big build-up. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to go for this sunset flip powerbomb, and then, oh, no, it's not going to happen. Counter out, and just go to the floor, take the spike. Like, that, it was like a nothing ending, sadly, to a match that they built up.
See, I liked it because I liked how it was set up, where Jay pushed Sammy's head into the ropes, kind of choking him on the second rope, right in front of Solo, which prompted the ref, and the ref is calling for the break, which prompts the referee to push Jay away and turn his back to Solo, who then hits the spike. I thought it was a smart finish. I liked how it wasn't just like distract the ref, let me start yelling at the referee, and then Solo will hit him. It was like, let me do something that will provoke a reaction from the referee that will then allow Solo the moment he needs to hit Sammy with the spike. I liked the way they did it. I thought it was good, and it didn't expose the referee in any way, make him look dumb. They had to do something with the ref's back turn.
That's true.
And I thought they got it done really well. I liked the little intricacy there in the finish. Jay beating Sammy. After Solo hit the spike, Jay hit a super kick, 1, 2, 3. And then Solo started beating up Sammy after the match and beating him up. Goes for the Samoan spike. Jey Uso stops him from hitting the Samoan spike. You think, Jey Uso is really siding with Sammy here. But instead, he super kicks Sammy and he tells Solo, go get a chair. Solo goes to get a chair. And then whose music hits but Matt Riddle's for some reason. And he beats up Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa, clears them out of the ring. And then he's just kind of, hey, bro. And that's how SmackDown ended. What the hell is Matt Riddle doing there? I guess because the Bloodline maybe took him out at one point. And Randy.
They did take him out, yeah.
And Randy too, right?
Yeah, it's true. They took out Randy as well, yeah.
So he's got prior heat with Bloodline. So he's back for revenge. Right?
Seems to make sense. I mean, there's ways to make it make sense, and that's one way.
I think that's the only way. How else does it make sense? They're heels, he's a babyface?
That works too. You know, he's just he likes to save the day.
Yeah. He's a
There's
nice
trouble in the
guy.
air. I'm
I
gonna
mean,
go save everyone.
on Raw, he was like attacking the Miz. Here, he's in the main event story, helping Sami Zayn. Kind of different, right? Different presentation. Raw, jabroni stuff. SmackDown, main event stuff. What's that?
But I think it's to give Solo something to do, right? Because like he's around, but he doesn't really feud with anybody. So now it's probably gonna be Solo against like Riddle, I think, as a match.
Okay. Okay. Does Solo win that?
I mean, usually when guys come back, Riddle just comes back. You would think he'd win, and they've already taken away his undefeated streak. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could see Solo losing that one actually.
Okay. Triple H cut a promo. He had a big announcement tonight. The big announcement was the draft is coming back in a few weeks. Didn't say when, probably after Backlash. He says it's going to be the biggest draft ever and it will change the game. Okay.
Okay.
And then he
I've heard that
introduced
before.
the new SmackDown Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley, with her friends, the Judgment Day, who are all Raw wrestlers. So you tell us that the draft is really important, but then you introduce a bunch of people that wrestle on Raw. So what's the draft for exactly? You're supposed to put one set of wrestlers on one brand, another set of wrestlers on the other brand, and that's where they're supposed to stay. Right? Except wrong,
Huh.
because as soon as he talks about how important the draft is, because the whole point of a draft is to have two different rosters, right? And then as soon as you're like, big draft, here's 4 people from the other show, just to show you that the SmackDown roster and the Raw roster, it doesn't actually matter. What? What? Like, what?
And don't forget,
how are you supposed to care about a draft? It's like, oh, the draft is happening. Okay, cool. So some people that are technically on SmackDown will move to Raw, and some people that are technically on Raw will move to SmackDown, but we'll still see them on Raw and SmackDown whenever it makes sense or doesn't.
wild card.
Just because you want to fill
Wild
time. No, they don't talk about wild card anymore. Just people show up. But that was kind of weird to me. Triple H talking about how important the draft is and a big draft, and that's a big announcement. And as soon as he's done doing a promo, he introduced 4 Raw wrestlers to SmackDown. What? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Like the draft hasn't been important for a very long time. Like it's just something that happens, an event.
But do they
They
not
just try to
realize?
sell.
Do they not realize the ridiculousness of the situation when they're talking about a draft? Then they introduce people from the other show onto this show. As soon as they finish talking about the draft, they're like, you couldn't have introduced some SmackDown people at that point? Here's a SmackDown Women's Champion, a Raw wrestler. Like, what? What's happening here?
Don't worry, they'll fix it in the draft.
She'll wrestle Zelina Vega at some point because Zelina gave her a Hurricane Rana tonight during a match.
That threw the finish off too. I don't know about you, like
Dominic and Damian beat Rey and Santos Escobar. I guess the LWO is a thing, kind of.
jobbers, but they are a thing, yeah, sadly.
Yep. But Charlotte's
By the
gone
way-
for a while, so I guess Rhea
Yeah.
needs opponents, and Zelina will be the first. Maybe Raquel Rodriguez will be next.
Like I don't know how you saw it, but the way I looked at it, like Rhea doesn't know how to run after somebody, because like Zelina was there, and then for whatever reason she like ran around again, and then ran back after her again. Like, did she get lost trying to run after her? Like that looks so weird. What happened?
I think Zelina stopped running, and Rhea had to slow down. I think Rhea just caught up
Okay.
to her too fast, and she wasn't supposed to catch up to her. Zelina, I think, just wasn't running fast enough.
It was so, and then suddenly a finish happens in the ring, and it's like, what the hell is going on? Like,
Yeah.
it was just odd and just off how they ended that match. Sadly, I thought it was good, and then that finish happened. I was like, well, that was weird.
I didn't think the SmackDown after WrestleMania was particularly good either. Liv Morgan and Raquel beating Shotzi and Natty. I mean, we had to
Oh yeah,
watch
Liz.
2 Liv and Raquel matches this week. That was the majority of the wrestling we saw in WWE. Liv and Raquel. Oh, what?
They're trying with that. They're really trying with that tag team. Really trying to put them over. I hope they don't win
No,
against
they
Becky
won't
and Lita.
win. Yeah, they're wrestling. We got to watch more Liv and Raquel on Raw because they're wrestling Becky and Lita for the tag belts. Ridiculous.
Like I don't know about you. Like I know people like Liv, but her finisher is like probably the worst finisher in WWE. Like
Yep.
it looks like she totally kills herself,
Yep.
and her opponent barely takes a bump. Like
Yep.
I don't get it
It's horrible.
whatsoever.
It's garbage. The
I
Oblivion.
feel like her code
It's terrible.
Yeah. Her code breaker is better than that. Like she should change it up.
Yeah, she grabs her opponent and takes a bump.
Like and kills herself on that bump too. Like drops on her head, flips.
Yeah, takes a big bump, and then somehow that's her finisher. It's like it looks like you just gave yourself a move. What are you doing? Yeah, her finisher's garbage. I've been saying it for a long time. It's no good. Becky and Lita will wrestle Liv and Raquel for those tag titles Raw Monday night. Matt Riddle will wrestle The Miz, which is so exciting. LA Knight will wrestle Xavier Woods on SmackDown next week. And Shinsuke Nakamura will make his anticipated return to SmackDown. He's been gone a long time.
No match, though. Just that's it.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I mean, he's not really a promo guy. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Boogs would have been good to keep with him, but oh well.
And Boogs is with Elias, which is such a great tag team. They're not even a tag team, right? They just wrestle solo matches, and the other guy watches backstage. You could make them a tag team, the 2 guitar dicks. Call them guitar dicks.
Oh, what's Shotzi and Natty? Ballsy something?
Natty's current tag team.
I think they're Ballsy Babes or something like that.
That is a stupid ass name. I call them Natty's current tag team. The Knot Foundation.
Knot Foundation's not too bad.
Yeah, because they're not the Heart Foundation. Get it? They're not. They're not.
And they never will be.
And they never will be. Okay. A little Bret Hart impression for you, brother. How about what's happening in AEW? I think we've covered the WWE at length. Not enough
we're almost
WWE
done Battle
this
of the
week.
Belts here.
What?
It's the last match. This is the last match, I think. Battle of the Belts. This is the main event.
God, this is the main event. Who are the belts? Oh, okay, wait. I will tell you. It's Ring of Honor belts, right?
Right.
And it's the Lucha Brothers, who are the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions that they won last week at the pay-per-view. Defending against
That's
Will
right.
Hobbs and QT Marshall, right?
There you go. You got it.
Wow. I'm proud of myself, honestly. I'm kind of surprised I was able to piece that together. I saw Ring of Honor logo earlier, so I figured it's got to be some sort of Ring of Honor match. I know belts are on the line. Jade Cargill beat that child.
She did.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
No. Okay.
55-0 now.
55-0?
Yep.
There you go. She's the best. AEW Dynamite this week. Juice Robinson in the ring for a match. Ricky Starks comes out, does his entrance, and who comes to attack him but Jay White? Jay Whiteo!
Nice beginning.
Yes. He attacks, and he's here to help his Bullet Club buddy, Juice Robinson, and they beat down Ricky Starks. Jay White is now in AEW. That was the Raw after WrestleMania surprise that WWE was supposed to have, except they didn't because they didn't sign Jay White, and they let him go to AEW. Botch.
You got Riddle. You got Riddle instead.
Yeah, great. Who do you think would have got a bigger pop?
Now, I wonder if WWE fans would have known who Jay White is. I mean, I think
Enough
it would
of
have
them
been a pop.
Enough of them would have.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. But honestly, though, I think it's better for Jay White to be in AEW because we saw like a little bit of him there, but not against all the top guys. It'd be interesting to see what he'll do against a guy like Kenny.
Yeah. I think it's been done. I think a lot of the matches he's gonna have been done already, or I don't know. I thought he'd be a more interesting addition to the WWE roster right now, but huge signing for AEW because he's gonna have some cool matches. He's a great wrestler. He's a great heel, great promo, great in the ring, great look. He's got everything going. He's a total package. I think he's still in his 20s.
It helps this whole angle too. Like, Juice Robinson, like, he's not bad, but he's not like a leader kind of guy. Like,
Yeah.
this kind of changes the whole outlook where it's like now Ricky Starks is in trouble. Like, before it's like, well, he should get by Juice, but now this is going to be tough for him.
He's just 30 years old, Jay White. He was in his 20s for a big run. He was a IWGP heavyweight champion in New Japan. Like, this guy is, he's a top-level wrestler.
Not even in his peak yet. That's
Nope.
amazing.
Yeah. AEW got themselves a gem here in Jay White. They could do big things with him. Big things. So, huge. And that was massive. And to me, that should have been the big announcement, except Tony Khan's big announcement was that they're going to... well, first they signed Nigel McGuinness, so that's cool. He's going to do commentary and maybe other stuff with them. But their big announcement was they're going to Wembley Stadium August 27th for AEW All In. Not All Out. All In. And Wembley Stadium apparently could seat 90,000.
SummerSlam was there.
Yeah. SummerSlam 92. I was pretty disappointed with this announcement, I gotta say. Because it's like another big announcement that really doesn't feel like a big announcement. And the quotes from Tony Khan going into this was, this is going to be an announcement that wrestling fans around the world will be excited about. This is going to be big for wrestling fans around the world. This is big for wrestling fans in England and the surrounding countries that are close that you could travel to. People around the world don't give a damn about this. This does nothing for me. I don't care that it's a stadium show. I don't care that they're going to England. I mean, good for them. Good for the people in England, and I'm happy for Tony Mack and our buddy Andy and all the people out in England that are going to go to the show. Cool. That's fine. But for Tony Khan to be like, this is a big deal for everybody. No, it's not. I don't give a shit. You're doing a show in England. Okay. You're going to do a stadium. Okay, good luck. I hope you sell tickets. But what does it do for me? It's a wrestling pay-per-view. Yeah. You're going to do a wrestling pay-per-view no matter what. Whether it's 20,000 or 90,000 people in the building watching on TV doesn't really do much of a difference for me. So I don't understand why I'm supposed to give a shit watching on TV in Canada about AEW going to London. It does nothing for me. So for that to be a big announcement from Tony Khan, it's like, yeah, cool for AEW, but like, I don't have a financial interest in AEW. I don't give a shit if they make money or not. I don't give a shit if they sell tickets. It does nothing for me. So I don't care. Also, this means, honestly, here's why it might be good. Is because it'll be an AEW pay-per-view, and we all know how long those fucking things are. But at least it'll be on in the afternoon.
Right.
So that's a win. At least it'll be on the afternoon, so I won't be really tired by the end of it. At least they won't keep me up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with their ridiculous pay-per-views. I'll be able to watch this thing and maybe even watch the post-fight press conference, because we all know that that's where the real action is in AEW. So I could actually stay up because it'll only be like 6 o'clock at night here. That's the only bright side about this announcement for me, is that it'll be on in the afternoon, and that's cool. Like, I don't know. People are like, well, this is great. I saw people in the United States celebrating this. I'm like, what do you care? Are you going?
Well, it's not so much for people going. It's like if you're gonna have a show at Wembley Stadium, you got to put on a good card if you want to draw. So you could only imagine they're gonna have to bring out the best they have in AEW, and maybe possibly they'll have to go out and get more talent to sell out in the UK. So you could just imagine the dream matches that they'll possibly put on for that show to help try to sell it out. Like I've saw some dream cards, and it's like, yeah, they're gonna need something like that
Yeah.
in terms of the matches. Like, I've seen people say like, Punk and FTR against the Elite. Like, yeah, you're gonna need something like that. That's just gonna be a taste. Like Danielson against Nigel, like some stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're gonna need something like you're not usually gonna see anywhere else.
Yep. They're going to need to put everything into that. All in. Everything. So that's cool. I mean, I'm glad that they're going to try and do a good pay-per-view. I expect them to try and do good pay-per-views every time. Doing a big stadium, the pressure's on. Now they really have to put on a good pay-per-view. Tony Mack saying that will sell out easily over here. I hope it does. I mean, yeah, sure. It's good for AEW, and I'm pleased for AEW that AEW is doing well, and they can do that. I hope that they have success in London. But, again, when you tease a major announcement for fans everywhere, and it's just a stadium show somewhere in the world, it's like, well, whatever. And I would have the same reaction if this was a stadium show in Montreal. You understand? Because
Olympic Stadium would suck.
Well, yeah, Olympic Stadium would be cool. Whatever. If they're like, we're going to Montreal for the first time and we've got a show at the Bell Center, I'd be like, yeah, okay. How is that for everybody? I mean, it's cool for us, but, it's not that it's far away and I'm not going to go. It's that, that's not an announcement for everybody. You can't say fans around the world will be excited and then say we're doing a stadium show somewhere. That's it? Is CM Punk coming back? You got to do more. So I'm sick of these Tony Khan announcements. You're not going to get me with these anymore. I will never, ever be tricked by one of those Tony Khan announcements. It's all bullshit. Tony Mack saying, come to London and watch it with us. Not likely, Tony. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be making the trip for that.
Too big of a family, I think.
I mean, maybe I'll go to London one day to travel, but I've never been, and I don't have a need to, I guess. I don't know. It's not on the list of places to go, I guess. It just seems too much like it is here. Like, too similar to here. I don't really see the difference. White people that speak English. I mean, if I'm going to go really far around the world, I want to see something a little different. But I'm sure London's a beautiful place. I mean, maybe I would go, but I'm not much of a traveler. I've never been to Europe at all, so I don't know. And I'm definitely not going all the way to Europe to see pro wrestling. I mean, goddamn, I see enough pro wrestling here. I don't need to travel around the world to see more of these sweaty dudes in spandex doing bullshit. Unless Bryan Danielson wins the belt, then I'll travel. If he's in the main event for the belt and it looks like he's going to win, I'll be there, baby. I'm kidding. I'll watch it on TV. But yeah, maybe I'll go to London one day. Maybe I'll go to France or Japan. Or maybe not. If I never see these places, John, it's like, yeah, I've seen other shit.
Well, I imagine when you have two kids, that kind of limits how far you want to go. Because it's like,
yeah,
it makes life harder.
Well, especially now that they're so young.
Exactly.
And, I mean, it's expensive to travel with a family of 4, right?
And difficult. Like, it's
difficult.
It's hard to,
Sure, there's challenges for sure. For sure. What else happened on Dynamite this week other than the Tony Khan announcement that I hated so much? Hook
MJF Day?
Hook beat Ethan Page with help from Matt Hardy. Hook and Ethan Page wrestled tonight too, didn't they? The hell is that?
Because there was no interference because Matt Hardy interfered in that match, right? So now no interference,
Mm-hmm.
and Hook won anyways.
MJF Day.
Great day.
This was something.
Great
right?
segment. This was the best part of the show, as usual.
MJF came out in a white jacket with a bow tie. The fans were going completely nuts. He's got a whole band like he's hosting a talk show. And he starts talking to the people and then starts singing a song, Pennies from Heaven. And he went into it. He went all in.
Ben Crosby, I think, song. If I'm not mistaken.
He was doing some scatting with a saxophone solo, danced his way to the ring. I mean, he was singing. And then the Oyster Bay town supervisor, Joseph Saladino, was there and got booed. Apparently, he's not too popular there. I don't know who the guy is, but politicians don't tend to be too popular in wrestling rings. MJF telling them not to boo the guy and ruin his moment. You know, don't boo this guy too much and ruin my moment here, people. So they kind of eased up on old Joseph Saladino, who told us it was MJF Day in Oyster Bay and presented him with a giant key to the city. MJF said he deserves this, unlike Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin or Jungle Boy. And the only thing Jungle is going to have is a girlfriend. He doesn't have the belt, and the only thing he will have is a girlfriend with a wandering eye and a small penis. At first, I thought he was saying Anna Jay had a small penis, but then I understood, okay, he's talking about... Right? It kind of sounded weird the way he phrased it. A girlfriend with a wandering eye and a small penis. So her eyes wander and she has a penis? But I think what he meant was Jungle Boy has a girlfriend and her eye wanders to me because I am MJF, and Jungle Boy also has a small penis.
Right.
But it did kind of sound like he was saying Anna Jay has a small penis, which is like, that's odd.
Interesting to know.
I had no idea. MJF then went into this whole... What?
She said in her promo, like on Rampage last week, that, you know, she has a fat ass. Apparently that's a accomplishment that she has.
Of course it is, John. Have you seen Anna Jay? I struggled to focus on this program when Anna Jay was wrestling in her shorts there against Julia Hart on Rampage or whatever it was. I was like, my God, Anna Jay, those some short shorts.
I don't know if you caught who won, but I think
Anna
Julia
Jay
won that match.
Maybe?
I thought Julia won the match.
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea, John. I was trying to talk to you and not look at Anna Jay too much. What a physique. You know? She has a small penis. I was trying to look at it. I was like, where's that penis?
She hid it well.
Penis? She hides it well. What a lady. MJ, keep her away from Rick Steiner. I'll tell you that much. Keep it.
Yikes.
I heard you have a small penis. Getting all mad.
It's good how a show comes around, you know?
Huh?
It's good how a show comes around.
Our show?
It
goes full circle, right? It goes full circle. It sounds like MJF said Anna Jay has a small penis, and we all know how Rick Steiner feels about women with penises. Oh, Rick Steiner. When will you learn? Fucking guy. Dog-faced gremlin. The dog-faced gremlin. That was his wrestling nickname. I think we should just refer to him as dog-faced gremlin.
I feel like in later WCW stages, he was just known as that.
Was he?
When he was like the heel? Yeah.
The dog-faced gremlin, Rick Steiner. I mean, that's an insult. It was his nickname, and it sounded like they were just insulting him constantly. If somebody says you have a dog face, I don't think that's nice. And then you're a gremlin. Like, not only does your face resemble a dog's, but you're a gremlin, too. Another hideous little creature. You're the dog-faced gremlin. It's not nice. But that was his nickname. Like, they were like, oh, look at it. Beware of the dog-faced gremlin. I'm like, don't call me the dog-faced gremlin. That sounds mean. You know?
It got him over, though.
Yeah, well, he's a shithead anyways. So fuck Rick Steiner. What a dick. MJF, he got over the Anna Jace thing, and he started to go into the story about having ADD. And when he was in eighth grade, he had a teacher named Mrs. Benedict. I wonder if that's her real name, because he went in on her. And he says she was not sympathetic to him, and she would wait until he stopped paying attention and then would ask him to answer the question on the board. And he said he wouldn't know. And then the teacher would embarrass him and said to the rest of the class, "Don't be like Max." And MJF says that the teacher came up to him at one point and asked him where his mind went when he was in her class. And he said pro wrestling. And she told him that his chances of making it in pro wrestling were slim to none. And then MJF says her math was a little off because he's got the key to Long Island and he's the AEW champion. And MJF says, kids, don't be like Mrs. Benedict. And by that I mean, don't be a stupid bitch. Which was just fantastic. I just loved it. And I feel like that was her name, and MJF is getting revenge, and good on him. Good for him. And MJF says if you're a Long Island kid who's struggling in school, not anybody else because he doesn't like pores, but if you're a specifically Long Island kid who's struggling in school, just know that if you bust your ass, you could be anything you want to be. Nice positive message, except one thing, me. Because I'm Maxwell Jacob Friedman and I'm better than you and you know it. Which was, a great way to cap off a beautiful promo. They loved him in Long Island. On Long Island, sorry. MJF wants to do an encore, and then a guy with a cymbal smashed it near him and MJF started yelling at him, and then the guy revealed himself to be Jungle Boy. He attacks MJF. They brawled a bit. The crowd was booing Jungle Boy. And then security and agents came out to separate them. And they kind of had one pack of security on one side of the ramp and one pack on the other side. MJF was on one and Jungle was on the other. Right. And then Sammy Guevara came out through the middle. And the title belt was coincidentally right there on the floor. And he picked it up and kind of stared at both of them as he made his way down to the ring for his match.
Great timing.
Yeah, very good timing. Very fortuitous that everybody was separated in that way so they could get that perfect camera shot. But I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. Good promo from MJF. I didn't even mind him singing. I thought it was a little much. I don't think MJF is as good a singer as he thinks he is, though. I think he's as good of a wrestler as he thinks he is, but not a singer. I mean, he's not a bad singer where you go, oh. But he's not a good singer where you go, oh, I want to listen to him. It's like I wouldn't buy an MJF Sings the Hits album. I wouldn't want to listen to that. He doesn't have a great voice to listen to. He's not bad on like technically, he doesn't crash on the notes. Like he's hitting what he needs to hit, and he sounds okay, but he's not like pleasant to listen to, But I feel like he thinks he's Frank Sinatra. You know what I'm saying? But he's not.
Well, he's playing Frank Sinatra kind of songs. He did this with Jericho as well. So I like the style of what he's going for, though. It's
I
something
think
different.
he thinks he's ready for Broadway. You know what I mean? Like, I think he thinks I could be on Broadway. And I mean, he probably could because he's like semi-famous now from wrestling, but not based on his merits as a singer. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but he believes in himself, so
sure.
Why not?
He's willing to go out and do it.
Entertaining.
It's a little much. MJF has the talent of Whitney Houston. You're crazy, Dave. No, he doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't. Like, he's not, when he's out there crooning, like, he's not Tony Bennett. He's not Frank Sinatra. He's MJF. And that's fine. It's like Chris Jericho is not James Hetfield. He's Chris Jericho, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying?
I'll give Jericho a lot of credit. Judas is a great song.
Sure, but Fozzy isn't Metallica.
Right, and he'll admit that too.
Sure, but exactly. And that's all I'm saying about MJF. Is like, I think he might think that he's, like, actually good. But he's just, good for a singing wrestler. But I don't need to see him sing that often. Like, once a year maybe. Because the thing with singing,
well, sure.
Singing, I kind of lost interest, to be honest, when he was singing. When I realized there was no joke, he was just singing a song, I was like, what is this? It lasted a little too long for my liking. Scatting with the microphone, with the saxophone guy, it was like, all right, what? It was a little long. It dragged a bit for me. And because he's not like the best singer in the world, it's kind of like, what exactly is this? When The Rock used to sing, he would sing funny songs. They were a promo.
Right.
MJF just sang a real song. He's like, I think I'm a good singer. Skibidi-bop-bop-boo-ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo. I'm like, what the hell is this? Get the hell out of here, man. Like, it wasn't cool. It was lame as fuck. I don't know, man. There was something off about it. Too much. Like the Jericho thing, okay, they were singing, but it was like a sketch, right? It was kind of like a promo.
It was supposed to be like a dinner they were having, and then suddenly just turned into
a musical,
along.
whatever. Yeah. But they're telling a story.
Yeah.
They're kind of advancing things. MJF was not advancing shit when he was singing. He was just singing and soaking in the love from the crowd. He's like, I'm going to sing a song. I'm going to have a band, and the crowd's going to love it because they love everything I do. He just wants to sing with a big band that song in front of a crowd who will cheer for him. But they're not cheering for you because of your singing. They're cheering for you because you're MJF and they love you. But he's getting the same feeling as if they were cheering for him as if he were singing. You know what I mean? Like, for him, it doesn't really make a difference because he's singing and they love it. They're like, they love my singing. But, come on, dude. Happy Passover,
but
buddy.
It makes sense for the character to want to have a moment like that. Because he actually thinks like he's so good that he can go out there and just do what he wants. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
I know, but when a heel starts doing that, they should be interrupted by a babyface. They shouldn't be allowed to just sing for 3 minutes.
Kind of happened.
It took a while. Only on the encore, John. It only happened on the encore.
You gotta get the first one in.
I didn't hate it, but it was just like, I didn't love it. I mean, you saying this is the best part of the show? Maybe. But I didn't think the show was very good, so.
I thought the show was bad.
I mean, I think we had some moments. But I didn't think the show was, like, amazing.
I wouldn't say amazing, but I didn't mind the show whatsoever. And I thought we had some good action.
I didn't love House of Black over the Best Friends. Like, I didn't care about that.
Fine. But Sammy's match was right after this, right? And I thought him and was Commander, like, that was a great match.
Yeah, I thought Sammy and Commander had a great match, and I thought that the FTR against Ass Boys was good, too.
Fantastic main event.
Mm-hmm.
Delivered what it needed to be.
Match of the night.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Sammy and Commander was very good, but yeah, there was more drama, I think, for the main event, yeah.
Yeah, I really like Sammy and Commander. Sammy got the win over Commander. Darby Allin was watching from the rafters like Sting. Jungle Boy and MJF were watching on TVs backstage. Sammy did a promo after the match. He says he wrestles on TV, unlike MJF, who's the champion. Sammy asks, what was that, shit American Idol? When talking about MJF's singing there. Sammy says when he wrestled MJF, MJF didn't beat him. Sean Spears beat him with a steel chair. And Sammy says MJF lied, manipulated, and cheated his way to the top, and he's almost jealous of the way that he did it, but he would hate who he was if he wasn't himself getting to the top. And Sammy's going to stay true to himself. And MJF just kind of uses people. Sammy says MJF was Cody's friend, then he wasn't. He was Tony's friend, then he wasn't. He was in the Pinnacle, and then he wasn't. And MJF sold his soul to become a pillar in AEW. Sammy says he loves AEW, and he's not using the place to get somewhere else. He loves AEW. He met his wife there, and he's not going to let some rich bitch from Long Island screw this place up with some bidding war of 2024. And Sammy says he'll be the next AEW World Champion. I thought it was a solid promo. Felt like a babyface promo, and he was getting strictly heel reactions, though, from the Long Island crowd because they're so pro MJF. But it was weird placement for me because I feel like in the general scheme of things, Sammy is a babyface, or sorry, is a heel in AEW. But this promo was very babyface-ish.
Yeah.
But he was getting heel reactions because he was in Long Island. Like, it was muddled. You know, it didn't make a lot of sense booking-wise. This was just Sammy Guevara cutting a promo about how he felt, but it was very babyface-ish, and they weren't reacting that way because they were in Long Island. I wonder if this were somewhere else, if they would have reacted in favor of Sammy Guevara during this promo, right? But then at the same time, should they? Because isn't he still a heel with Jericho's society? So it's odd. You know, the promo was odd.
Well,
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. You know, he said some cool stuff, but I don't understand what he is right now. I guess he's just, I think everybody's a babyface when they're going up against MJF because he's that much of a heel, but what does that say about Sammy Guevara's heel persona? I don't know.
Like I think this was supposed to be like a shooty kind of promo.
Yeah.
That's what they were going for. They
Yeah.
were saying like a bunch of real things and what he really felt about the situation. I just felt that, you know, what he said was good. It's just maybe the order should have been a bit different. Like I felt the crowd wasn't really into it until like he insulted the crowd. Then they were like, well, we hate you because you insult us. But until then, it just felt they were very much indifferent to everything he was saying. It's like he's saying a bunch of stuff, but he's not really registering with anybody. But he doesn't like Long Island, boo. And then he finally felt like, you know, he got the crowd going against him. But until then, it just felt like, well, he's just saying stuff. And like, it's not really catching. Like, it was good to listen to. I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
Because it felt like made sense for the character. It made sense for this whole feud. But the crowd, the energy wasn't there as much.
Yep, it was a weird promo to do in Long Island. I think you could have done it somewhere else and had a better reaction for it. Saraya, Ruby Soho, and Tony Storm were interviewed backstage, and they say that one of them is going to be the next AEW Women's Champion, and the most important thing is that they get it off Jamie Hayter, and it doesn't matter which one's the champion, and they'll figure it out later. What?
Well, we talk about like Wembley Stadium, you know, a match of Hayter against Saraya. I think that's something, you know, people in the UK would like to see a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the match they go with. But that's a long title reign for Hayter then if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see it happen though. Makes sense.
With Saraya taking it off her in Wembley.
Or Saraya takes it from beforehand, and this is the rematch.
Yep, that could work too. That match makes sense for for that show there in August. Okay, Wheeler, Utah, John Moxley, and Claudio Castagnoli beat 3 jabronis in a squash match, and then Bryan Danielson got on the mic and says he loves Moxley, Claudio, and Wheeler, even if Wheeler's a little shithead. That's what Bryan
weird.
called him. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was okay. Like I didn't know there was still heat there, but okay.
I don't know. Bryan says he loves professional wrestling and asks the crowd if the job guys look like professionals to them. Bryan says they look like people the EVPs might have hired, and they look like impotent amateurs. So Bryan not too happy with the indie amateur-style wrestlers that he's seeing. Bryan says they're the only professional wrestlers in the building tonight, which prompts Hangman Page to come out. And Bryan says, oh, here comes another amateur. I love heel Bryan, by the way. He's so good. I love these promos. Hangman attacks them for some reason. He's like 1-on-3, but gets beat up right away. And Bryan is telling Hangman he's an amateur while he's getting beat up. And he gets a screwdriver, does Bryan Danielson, and starts gouging the face of Hangman Page. Bryan says,
no?
What? His eye, maybe? Yeah.
It looked like his eye.
Yeah.
One
Bryan says they're the only real professional wrestlers in all of America. After what he saw this weekend, he says, after what I saw this weekend, we're the only pro wrestlers here, and what I saw this weekend, we're the only pro wrestlers in all of America. So even taking a shot at WWE, saying we're the only real deal guys in this whole damn business. I liked it. I like what Bryan Danielson's doing. I like what he's saying. I like that Hangman knew he was outnumbered, but he's just so ballsy that he doesn't care. He's willing to take them all on, even if he knows he's going to get beat up, and then he does. I thought it was solid. I thought it was a solid little segment there. This version of Bryan Danielson is great for me. It's always going to work.
Well, we didn't get enough of it, I thought, in AEW. Like, we only got a taste of it, and then he immediately turned face. So it was like, well, that was kind of pointless. Like, you had this great heel, Danielson, and then suddenly face with the group and all that, and it's kind of wasted, unfortunately. And now it's like, well, now you can turn this around, and yeah, now this has new life here, and it's like, this is interesting where you can go with this. And it definitely seems like, maybe they're going to feud with, House of Black, but I don't see it right away. It's probably going to be with the Elite. I could see a big 4-on-4 match for Double or Nothing.
Yeah. Got to make sure the Young Bucks are healthy for that, though, because right now, from what I understand, they're both hurt.
I didn't say it would be the Bucks, I said the Elite, right? We got two of the Elite wrestling on Dynamite, no?
Yeah, but I think you got to do the 4-on-4 match at some point.
It'd be great if Matt could wrestle, but they said 6 to 8 weeks, no?
Yeah. Well, Double or Nothing is when?
End of May. Is it May 28th?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they can get him
tight.
for that. It's tight. It is tight. We'll see. FTR beat the Ass Boys to become the new AEW Tag Team Champions. 2-time AEW Tag Team Champions. FTR was putting their AEW career on the line, so I think we all know where they signed. It seemed pretty obvious to me that they were heading back to AEW. They said their contracts ran out in April. It's April. Why would AEW book them for tag team title matches if their contract was running out? Didn't make a lot of sense to bring them back on TV to just have them lose to the Ass Boys. Just keep them off TV. But, of course, they're not leaving AEW. They signed a new contract with AEW, and they're the new AEW Tag Team Champions. Although, I say that, and they did have Jon Moxley as their world champion without a contract last year. So, which is ludicrous. I don't think we talked about that.
I think we mentioned it, but we didn't really get into it.
It's crazy. What'd you think about FTR and the Ass Boys? Solid match, right?
Yeah, I thought it built up right and everything, and the falsies and everything, the way it went down.
The DQs.
Yeah, the whole holding back. I like that where I think it was Cash, like he held the ref's arm.
Yeah.
It was good drama, man. It was good.
Yeah.
It was a good way they built everything up, and even the finish, I was good with that. How they reversed it into it. Both got double pins and all that.
Yep.
Sold on that one. And it was nice. You had Mark come out afterwards, celebrate with them. I don't know if FTR has ever been. They definitely, I don't think, have ever been this over. Right now, they're the most over they've ever been.
Yep, this is as big as they've ever been. Makes sense to put the belts on them. They're very over. People are loving FTR right now, and why not? They're at the peak of their game. This is their prime right now. They're killing it.
I thought for years they were the best tag team. Even when they were the Revival in their last year against the New Day, that ladder match they had, I think at TLC. I thought right there, they're easily the best. They're the team to watch the most.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are the most interesting. They can wrestle anybody, pretty much, and they can make it interesting. So, they've been doing this for years. It's just nice to see them finally get the respect now that I think most fans finally realize that, yeah, they are the best tag team.
I think their personality, too, is starting to come through. And that took a while.
That's true, yeah. Well, they're always heels. They were just set in that one kind of
Yeah, but
way. Now
there
it's
was
like
not much
reformed.
behind it. The promos weren't really there. It wasn't. I don't know. It didn't quite connect. It didn't quite connect. And there's a difference between, being a good little tag team like FTR and doing all the right things and having good wrestling matches. But then when you add being super over to the good wrestling matches, it makes everything more important, especially with a team like FTR that's very much about that kind of hard-nosed, meat and potatoes wrestling.
Right.
When you don't have any of that, like, sizzle, it can get kind of bland. Like, people lose interest. I lose interest. You got to have a little something extra, and FTR, it feels like they found that edge. They found that extra kind of character. You know who they are a little bit more now, Before it was like,
Right.
I didn't know their names. It was bald and hair, right? Now, like, we actually know there's Dax and Cash, and I know which one's which I'm pretty proud of. So,
it's good.
We know the difference between the FTRs now. And for a while, it was FTR 1 and FTR 2, Like, we didn't know. It was bananas in pajamas. All right. We got, remember those guys, the bananas in pajamas? Those guys look the same.
I know I've never really watched that show. I didn't think it looked very good, to be honest.
I think we were both too old for bananas in pajamas. But I was aware of it. I think I'd seen it.
Yeah.
B1 and B2. Maybe I wasn't too old for bananas in pajamas. I'm not sure. Shout out to Bananas in Pajamas. I think they were Australian.
You clearly knew more about the show than I did.
Apparently I do. I think maybe my little brother was watching Bananas in Pajamas. I think that's what was going on. Maybe I was watching it too. Who knows? It's good stuff. Moxley talked on his wife's podcast last week, Renee's podcast, and he said he didn't have a contract when he was AEW interim champion, and that's why when the CM Punk match was presented to him, he wanted to beat Punk and then lose to him at the pay-per-view. He didn't want to just straight up lose to Punk because he felt like he didn't need to go and wrestle this match at all, which is true. He didn't have a contract.
Well, if you don't want to wrestle, just drop the title. They'll figure it out themselves. But you were put in that position.
But if you're the champion and you don't have a contract, and they're presenting like you losing to a guy that maybe you don't like, you could say, no, I'm not feeling that, brother. Top guys in pro wrestling have done that for years. Moxley's like, I'm not feeling that, brother. How about I beat you quick, and then you could beat me at the pay-per-view? And Punk's like, I'm hurt. I don't want to do it. And Tony Khan's like, really? Come on. Punk's like, no, I'm hurt. But then he did the match anyways. And he lost to Moxley, and then he beat him at the pay-per-view. Which is weird, because Punk is like, I'm not putting a company over my health and this and that, and they wanted me to do the match hurt, but I wasn't cleared. But it's like, well, you did get cleared, right? Because you did wrestle the match. Or did you wrestle that match not medically cleared? I don't understand what happened there, Punk. He seemed to be complaining about a thing that actually happened. Like, I don't know. I think Punk's going to come back, though. He has to. He has to.
Well, they need him to come back. The main thing I got out of that is that he never watched the Rocky movies, which I guess you have something in common with him, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think I have to. I think maybe I saw Rocky 3, though, because that's the one with Hogan. I think I've watched the one with Hogan, but I don't remember it.
And that's the one Moxley referenced, too. That's interesting.
But it's like, I saw it a long time ago. I don't really remember it. And I've seen it only once. I'll tell you, I have a much better recollection of movies I've seen recently. Like the Super Mario Brothers movie that I saw today with my son. It was amazing. So
we're going to get a review now?
Oh, let's go. It was just fantastic. What can I say? It was a lot of fun. Fun music. They did a lot of revamped, remixed versions of classic Mario tunes that you've heard throughout the years in various games. My son is a genius with the Mario songs, identifying every song, telling me, that's the Underground music. That's from Mario 64. Like, jeez, encyclopedia. My son knows more about Mario and Zelda than I do about pro wrestling, possibly. It's like almost there, you know? It's close.
He'll be working
Um,
gaming, I guess.
yeah, I think he might. I think he might. He's he's a smart kid. He's a smart kid. Gets it from his mom for sure. Um, yeah, the movie was amazing. The movie was so fun. So many little details from the games,
Right.
from the Mario
Right.
universe. You know, like so many little things that if you have been watching or have been playing Mario games your whole life, like I have, you know, you really appreciate the little details. Like at one point, Luigi encounters dry bones,
Uh
right?
huh.
And
Right.
and he's like, "Oh no," you know, and he's running after him, and he's running away from the dry bones, and then Luigi like jumps and lands on his head, and the dry bones falls apart. So Luigi
Right.
thinks,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I've killed this dry bones. This is fantastic. He's not after me anymore." But if you've played the game, you know, watch out, Luigi. That dry bones is about to reanimate and come back together and keep attacking you. But Luigi in the movie didn't know. It's just little things like that. Like you could see it coming if you played the game, you know? Fun stuff. Donkey Kong was fun. Seth Rogen played Donkey Kong. He was a lot of fun as Donkey Kong. Had a big role in the movie. I thought Chris Pratt was good as Mario. I thought he did a good job. He was fun. They had Charles Martinet doing some of the like old school Mario voicing in the movie. Just so many tiny little details. I'm sure I missed a bunch of them too. But so many
Right.
little Super Mario details. It had a very Nintendo vibe. It felt Nintendo, you know? Like you could feel the imprints of Miyamoto and Iwata on this movie. There was something very nice and wholesome yet fun and funny. It was, you know, and not like wholesome to the point where you're like bleh, like Disney, you know? Wholesome but like
Okay.
not too far. It was just very like right in that Nintendo sweet spot that I love. I'm a super Nintendo fan. I love Nintendo. I love Mario. I've got Bowser's head right behind me. Bowser was great in the movie. He has a love song that he sings about Peach that is incredible. So fucking good. I loved it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I loved this movie. I thought it was fantastic. I'm seeing it's not getting great reviews. I don't know why. I mean, I guess
I've heard.
if you're a movie critic that
Right.
does not play Mario games, you probably won't like this movie.
Right.
I mean, I could like if you're a serious movie critic that's looking at serious film and this and that, like maybe you won't like this movie. But even then, I think it's kind of fun. Like the great part about Nintendo games that Miyamoto always talks about is that they make them so that you could pick them up. Anybody who has, if you have no skill, you could pick them up and play and have fun. But if you have skill, you could pick them up and play and have a deeper appreciation and you could get more out of the game and you know? And that's what Nintendo does perfectly. They make games for everybody. Everybody can play, but if you're good at them, you can, you know, really get deep and right? And I feel like the movie had that vibe. If you know a little bit about Mario, you can enjoy the movie. But if you know a lot about Mario, you'll really enjoy the movie. You know? And I know a lot about
That's good.
Mario. I'm wearing my Super Daddy-O t-shirt right now. I'm, you know, I've got like Lego Mario bad guys on my desk over here. Look at these cute little cat Goombas. Look at those cat Goombas. Adorable. Look at this one. It's an ice hammer brother. It's throwing ice.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah. It's the new set. I've got the complete set over here. I could keep showing them to you, but I've got everybody. Who's this? It's Spike. Oh yeah, I got Spike. I got cool characters. Oh, look at this one, Johnny North. It's Birdo. Everybody's favorite Birdo. Birdo was not in the movie. Wario was not in the movie. But a lot of people were.
Waluigi?
No Waluigi. If there's no Wario, you really think they're going to give us Waluigi? I don't think so. I was hoping for Wario, but no Wario. But maybe the next movie will have a Wario. Next movie will have a Waluigi. I think there will be more movies because I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think it is spoiling anything. But at the end of the movie, after the credits, after all the credits roll, there's a little scene right at the end.
Uh-huh.
And it's a Yoshi egg.
Oh, there's no Yoshi in the movie.
No, there's one part where they kind of go through like a land of Yoshis, and you see a bunch of Yoshis, but it's like a montage scene, and you only see them for like 15 seconds, maybe less.
Wow.
Very little Yoshi action. But at the end of the movie, there's a Yoshi egg, and it's shaking and it's cracking open, and then the screen goes to black, and you hear Yoshi, and I was like, oh. I popped in the movie theater. I was like, yo, Yoshi. I love Yoshi. I'm a big Yoshi fan. Huge.
But that doesn't mean another Mario movie. Maybe just a Yoshi movie standalone, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, it's different, though. I mean, we've seen Yoshi has his own characters, actually, too. You played the Yoshi games.
Yeah. Shy Guys on stilts. Touch Fuzzy, get dizzy. So many things you could do with Yoshi. I'm down for a Yoshi game. I'm down for another Mario movie with Yoshi involved. I think we're going to see a ton of these Nintendo movies. Apparently, this is just the beginning of a Nintendo universe of movies. I think we're going to see a Yoshi movie. We'll see a Donkey Kong movie. And I'm hoping, and I think we will finally get this, the Zelda movie. I think they have
not live action, though. Not live action.
There was talk, if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago of a live-action Zelda series on HBO.
Netflix.
Was it Netflix?
Netflix, yeah.
But not Disney. Nintendo pulled the plug because they wanted to do things with the characters that Nintendo was not comfortable with, so they said, no, you can't do it.
There was leaks too. Apparently, that was a huge thing. There was too many leaks. So,
but a lot of it was, because Nintendo, like the characters here in this movie, it made sense. Although we did learn a lot about Mario. Like Mario has parents. Mario and Luigi have parents and like a whole family. There was like a family dinner at one point. And they have like a dad and a mom and stuff. It was very strange.
They're all last name Mario?
I think so. Yeah. And
that's it.
Peach has an origin story, like where she came from. You hear the Peach
she should.
origin story. And also Donkey Kong is revealed as Cranky Kong's son, which...
That was known. That was known, yeah.
He's his grandson. He's not his son. He's never been Cranky Kong's son. No, John, I did the research.
They changed it, though.
I did the research. He's always been his grandson. We did the research afterwards. We were all quite interested in the Cranky Kong Donkey Kong relationship. And as far as we know, all signs point to Cranky Kong being his grandfather. But in this movie, Donkey Kong was the son of Cranky, which is a departure, but I was willing to accept it. Because the movie was damn fun. But I think, a Zelda movie would be massive. And that Zelda series on Netflix, I was really excited about that, but you can't mess with Link. You can't mess with Princess Zelda. You can't mess with these characters, and you can't do things that Nintendo doesn't want you to do with them. They're very protective of their characters, as they should be, because very few characters, especially video game characters, have stood the test of time, like Mario, the Mario universe, all these characters. They made a movie, there's merch, there's everything. you think about how long it's been. It's nearly 40 years of Super Mario. The guy's been around a long time.
Yeah. Maybe
So,
longer even.
I don't know how many video game characters have lasted longer than Super Mario. I would say none. He's the most iconic video game character in the history of video games. It's him and Pac-Man. I'd say Mario's more iconic than even that little yellow ball Pac-Man.
Yeah. He's probably just not as old, but yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
But another question though, like the origin story, obviously not the same. Does that kind of take away from it a bit? Where it's like the original thing was like it's always been Mario saves Peach, and now it's Mario saves Luigi. Does that like take away from like how the story was supposed to be, or
Well,
does it
I don't
still
want to
work
give away
the way-
too much, but he saves Luigi, but he's also saving Peach at the same time.
Well, he's saving the Mushroom Kingdom, right?
Yeah,
Like, so
which is where Peach
yeah.
lives. Oh, Mario's way more iconic than Sonic, Tony Mac. What are you talking about? Sonic's cool. I like Sonic, but
I like the Sonic movies. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah,
the first
but-
I haven't seen the second one. The first one's pretty good.
I like the Mario movie better.
Okay, that's good to know.
I love
Your
this
favorite
movie.
video game movie? Your favorite video game movie then?
I don't know what other video game movies I've seen.
Well, obviously Sonic is one, but I guess
Yeah,
Sonic doesn't compare.
no,
And I don't think you're a fan of Resident Evil, so
I didn't see those.
or Silent Hill, or Silent
see
Hill.
that.
So
Yeah, I haven't really seen many video game movies, but of the ones that I've seen, this is my favorite. I understand they're making
right.
a live-action Minecraft movie with Jason Momoa.
right,
It's weird.
as Steve, right? That's the main guy.
Steve. Yep. Minecraft. My son likes that too. He started playing that. I don't get it. It's all right. I get what you're supposed to do, but I don't know. I know there's more to
Yeah.
it than what I'm doing, but I'm good. I got other things to play, like Super Mario World for the millionth time. You know, why not?
Well, there's mods. You can play some mods too if you want.
I don't know how to
Variation
do that. John.
levels.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh.
I could play them on
There's
Super
ways.
Mario Maker. Super Mario Maker 2, people have levels I could just play, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. Yeah, there was movies about her, right? She was a big character, but not as iconic as Super Mario. Super Mario? He's been around way longer. And there's way more
They were-
merch for Mario than there is for Lara Croft, right? I mean, go to a GameStop and
But-
find me Mario stuff and then find me Tomb Raider stuff. Is Tomb Raider even a game that they still release?
Yeah,
ever
they
played
remade it actually.
You ever play Tomb Raider Tennis or Tomb Raider Golf or Tomb Raider Kart Racing? I don't think so. Mario. That guy's a franchise. He's a businessman. You know?
But yeah, Tomb Raider movies were pretty good. But again, I haven't seen the Mario movie yet. I'll have to wait and see.
It's the only movie I've fallen asleep during. I fell asleep during that Tomb Raider movie. That first one, when it came out, I fell asleep. I slept the whole way through. Boring.
Not an Angelina Jolie fan. Wow.
Not really. No. I don't care for her. I met her once.
And?
Eh.
Okay, wow. AJ would not be impressed. You have to tell AJ about that.
I think he'd met her too.
Same time? No way.
No, not same time, different times. I think maybe it was around the same time that we met her. I was a teenager. AJ was probably like an old man at that point. He's a super old man
so
now.
mean.
It's
So
true,
mean.
though.
I imagine he has a better story probably.
John. I mean, whatever. I met her. I talked to her. One of my friends talked to her, and she was at the HMV buying CDs or something. The big HMV downtown. They used to be there on St. Catherine Street. Back when people
that's
used
a
to
long
buy
time
CDs.
ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Wow.
I was in high school.
Well, that's kind of cool that you met her in high school.
I guess. I don't know. I didn't really know who she was. My buddy was like, "Hey, Angelina." And I was like standing, like we were walking, and he's like, "Hey, Angelina." And he started talking to her. and I was just kind of standing there. I was like, all right, who's this again? When he said it,
Well, that's
and I
all right.
looked at her, I was like, oh, that's that Angelina something. I don't think she was super famous back then. You know, like she was famous, but not like super, super famous. So like it wasn't like she walks down the street and everybody knows who she is, you know? But my
Right.
buddy happened to know who she was, and I was like, oh, all right. Anyways, but then everybody after that was talking about how like she's the most beautiful woman in the world and stuff, and I remember thinking, her? She's all right, I guess. I don't know. Because I saw her in person, and I was like, yeah, all right. I saw like 10 other ladies at the HMV that were more. Anyways, why am I talking about
Well,
Angelina Jolie? What the hell are we doing here?
as Laura Croft, she looked pretty good. Remember that.
I guess so. Not as good as Peachy, let me tell you. Ho ho, it's a nice. Bowser was loving it in that Mario movie. All right, that's it. That's it from me. When I start talking about Peach and
what's
Bowser,
the grade on this?
what?
What's it on 10? Like, what does it get?
9,
Okay, wow, pretty high. So
maybe
you
even a 10. I
recommend?
don't know, 9.5, maybe a 9.
Well,
I give it a 9. I give it a 9. It was pretty damn good.
10's a perfect movie. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
can't
wouldn't say it's
imagine.
a perfect movie. Like, it's whatever, but it was fun. It was really fun. 9 on 10. What
That's
are you
good.
giving WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2? You never gave me your grades on 10.
Well, night 1,
I did 8 for 1 and 7 for 2.
you were very generous for 2. Very generous. Night 1, I'll give it a 7. And I think a lot of it got hurt by the fact that I was told this is like the greatest night in wrestling history.
Yeah, I guess
So
that
that
ruined it
hurt.
for you. Yeah.
That hurt a lot. A lot. Night 2, like that triple threat was pretty good. And I'll agree, like the main event, it takes away that it's already happened, so I don't feel that drama as much.
Yeah.
But
That's half the
I mean,
fun. That's most of the fun of that match is the what's going to happen, you know?
right. But I mean, those 2 matches, what else was there on night 2? Like, for
No, not
me,
much, but those 2 matches were
yeah,
awesome. They were so
they
good.
were. They were very good, but there's still the rest of the show you have to go through.
Mm.
And there's still more matches, right? And segments as well.
Yeah.
For me, it's a 6. It's a 6
Okay.
at best.
Well, I think that it's better live when you're not spoiled of the results. Like, it's better live and on mushrooms, so that helps too. So, when is your next match? When can people see you in the ring?
Oh, I have no idea right now because a lot of crazy things happened. People got hurt, so events and times and everything. Like, wait and see what I'm 100% fine.
Okay.
No problems. But other people are not okay.
Who's
so
not okay?
We'll have to wait and see on that one. I'll let you know. I maybe possibly Drew Onyx is a little bit banged up, but that's what happens.
All right.
So wait and see what happens. And possibly one of the Latinos is like gone forever. So we'll have to wait and see on that stuff.
Okay.
So things will happen. And just keep watching the show, and I'll keep you updated.
Well, I hope Drew Onyx is okay. I hope Drew Onyx is doing all right. So we're sending well wishes to Drew if he is indeed banged up. I don't know, but if he's hurting. Big shout out to Drew Onyx and the Great Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling School and wrestling shows that he runs. Good man, Drew Onyx. Despite his in the ring beefs with Johnny North, we definitely
almost killed me with a chair. I don't know if you caught that.
You probably deserved it, John. What did you say to him? You probably hit him.
I didn't really say much.
You probably chopped him. If you chopped me, I'd be going after your head with a chair too. You hit hard.
I may have hit somebody else that, provoked him to come after me, possibly.
Who'd you hit?
Paulson. Savage Paulson.
His tag team partner there. Okay.
Yeah, I may have hit him, yeah.
Well, that's what you get, John. Revenge. It's wrestling.
Well, that means I'll get more revenge.
All right.
Next show.
Well, that's it. I want to give a shout out to Harold Schneider. You are the Super Chat leader of the night over on YouTube. Thank you, Harold. Thank you to all the YouTube channel members as well checking in tonight. Harold Schneider, Tony Mack out in London. Go get your tickets for that AEW All In, Tony Mack. Leor, Ray Cruz, says Anna J, nice cake. Yep, indeed. And all the members over at join.ringsidereport.net. Join.ringsidereport.net is where you need to go. Support the Ringside Report Network. $5 a month supports the channel, and you could support us over on Rumble as well. Rumble, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. We are everywhere. Shout out to everybody watching us on all the different platforms and listening to us on all the different podcast platforms. The Ringside Report Network is everywhere on everything. In your face, in your eyes, and in your heart. Okay? I'll be back here, tomorrow night. What the hell?
Couple hours.
UFC 287. UFC 287. It is the live watch-along UFC 287 pay-per-view. Jorge Masvidal, Gilbert Burns is the co-main event. Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira for the middleweight title is the main event. I'll be watching that pay-per-view with my friends AJ and Freddie. 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday night, when the pay-per-view starts, our show starts. We watch the pay-per-view, we tell you what's going on, and we party, and we have a good time. And
did you hear the news, by the way?
What?
That the UFC that was supposed to be in Calgary is not going to be in Calgary anymore?
Yeah, it's in Vancouver.
Disappointing or no? Not like...
What do I care?
Because maybe...
Again, John.
Well,
I don't live in Vancouver or Calgary. What do I care? If it's in Vancouver or Calgary.
Wasn't Montreal in the running for that?
Yeah, there was talk that Montreal would maybe get the show, but they're going to the west coast of Canada. I figured they would stay on the west coast of Canada.
Well, it's too... Because when was the last time they were in Montreal? It feels like it's been forever.
Yeah. It's been a long time since they were in Vancouver, too, though.
Oh, really? Okay.
Honestly, I saw the main event. I was like, yeah, I don't need that. That would not sell in Montreal. People are not paying to see Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena 3 as the main event for a pay-per-view. That is a weak main event for the pay-per-view. Their co-main event better be solid. They need to stack that card because that is not a great main event. It's just not. It's I
thought you were a fan of that fight. I'm surprised.
I don't need to see it again.
Okay.
I don't. I think we're good. I think the last time, Juliana caught her the first time. The second time, Amanda figured it out. I think that's how it goes again. If they fight again, it's going to go exactly the way it just went. I don't see a reason to do it again. I really don't. So, I'm not mad that pay-per-view isn't coming here. I don't want to go to that. I don't need to go to that. I watch it on TV. It's good enough. I'm not mad at that, John. Thing is, I've been around this game for way too long. I've seen it all. I've done it all. I've been to big fights, like real big fights, like GSP and Nick Diaz, like John Jones and Vitor Belfort, John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. Like, I was at all those fights. I've seen it all, I saw Steve Austin wrestle in his prime. I saw The Rock wrestle in his prime. I saw Bret Hart wrestle in his prime. I was at the Screwjob. What more can I see at this point? What can they show me now that, will be more impressive than the things I've already seen? I can't imagine. I've been to the big fights. I've been to the big wrestling shows. I could retire. I was at Elimination Chamber. It was one of the best pay-per-views ever. I'm good.
But I was just going to bring that up. Yeah, you've been to some great ones, but doesn't mean there can't still be some great ones later on. As we just saw with Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena pay-per-view not coming to my hometown doesn't bother me. If it was Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler in Vancouver, I'd be like, damn, that'd be pretty cool if it was coming here. But it's not coming here, and it's not going to Vancouver. That fight would only take place in Vegas. So, if you want to see the big UFC fights, you go to Vegas. But I don't know. It's not major. It's not a major loss for Montreal to not have that pay-per-view. I don't think Montreal would really support it. I'm actually happy it's not coming here because I think Montreal would be exposed for not supporting that fight and the fight card. So stay away till you got something better. All right? How about that? And I want to say that it's past midnight, so I want to wish my daughter, Zola, a happy first birthday. She's amazing. She is the future.
Amazing. It's been a year already. Wow.
Yep. My little daughter is a year old now. She is fantastic. So lucky to have both of my amazing kids. They are the coolest. And that's it. So happy birthday to little Zozo. She's a fucking monster. I love her. She's crazy. All right. That's it. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. This has been Wrestling Uncensored. I'll see you guys tomorrow night here for the UFC 287 watch along on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.